maintained a singular line of communication with him. This is also a crucial element in maintaining an aura of secrecy. Even General Zhao Weidong had attempted various methods to communicate directly with 001, yet received no response. Engaging with too many individuals could lead to inadvertent disclosures. The notification from Zhou Jinghua soon reached the game. Chunbei glanced at it without offering any reply. In military parlance, silence equates to tacit agreement. This has consistently been 001's modus operandi. Beep beep. At that moment, the phone on the table rang, the screen illuminated with Lu Ji's name, his friend, the military enthusiast. Lu Wei. Lu Gu. Chunbei answered the call. Xiaobei, there's an event tonight. Do you have time? Lu Wei's voice brimmed with excitement from the other end. What event? To observe the 20. Lu Wei's tone lowered, imbued with mystery. I've arranged for Zhang Chang and Wang Lei to head to Phoenix Mountain tonight to stake out the 20. Phoenix Mountain? The 20? What's the situation? Chunbei feigned ignorance. You're not aware? Our Haikou's Phoenix Air Force Base now has the 20. Is that true? Chunbei retorted. Of course. Haven't you been following the news? At the mention of news, Chunbei chuckled. The 20 at Phoenix Air Force Base have been frequently taking off and landing over the past week. It was impossible to maintain complete secrecy. In fact, the military seemed disinclined to keep it entirely under wraps, opting instead for a strategy of measured exposure. Consequently, sightings of the 20 were swiftly captured by local residents and ignited a considerable uproar online. In no time, military enthusiasts, media reporters, and even several foreign journalists flocked to Haikou. If one were to check the hotel occupancy records in Haikou now, they would find a notable influx of outsiders. We're planning to set up tents for an overnight stay at the summit of Phoenix Mountain. Would you like to join us? Lu Wei continued. Isn't that near a military-restricted zone? Couldn't there be a risk of information leakage? Chunbei inquired deliberately. Not at all, Lu Wei quickly clarified. The perimeter of Phoenix Base is currently filled with enthusiasts. Everyone adheres to the rules, only taking photographs from outside the safety line, without trespassing. Moreover, we simply wish to immerse ourselves in the atmosphere. Spending an entire day cooped up in a rented room can indeed be stifling. Engaging in activities with like-minded friends to unwind is certainly beneficial. Very well then, Chunbei agreed. Should I bring anything? Just bring yourself. I've prepared the tent, water, and food, Lu Wei assured him. Let us meet at 6 in the evening at our usual spot, the Fisherman's Courtyard restaurant. Dinner is on me. Liu Yi. You're treating us? Thank you. No need for thanks. You treated last time, so it's my turn this time. It's settled. After hanging up the phone, Chunbei addressed his computer, saying, Intelligence system, take over the game. Understood, Commander, came the prompt reply. The game interface automatically exited, and the computer screen dimmed. The intelligence system not only managed the game, but also facilitated the computer's power functions, proving to be quite convenient. In fact, it could control any electronic device, including his phone and television. Chunbei took a refreshing shower, donned casual attire, and packed a light jacket into his backpack in anticipation of the evening chill in the mountains. Checking the time, he deemed it nearly time to depart and locked the door behind him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the evening glow painted the sky in vibrant hues. Upon arriving at the Fisherman's Courtyard restaurant, he found Lu Wei and the others already waiting in their private room. Apologies for the delay. I was caught in traffic, Chunbei said apologetically. Not at all. We just arrived ourselves. Wang Lei quickly waved off his concerns. Waiter, we're ready to order, Lu Wei called to the server. Chapter 49. A spy caught unawares. Have you seen the news? Zhang Chang, seated nearby, excitedly showed Chunbei's phone. This morning, the Navy launched 2 new Type 052 destroyers. I saw it. I was thrilled for quite a while this morning, Chunbei replied with a smile. The continuous launch of new vessels by the Navy brings unparalleled joy to military enthusiasts, even more so than festive occasions. The group engaged in lively conversation on this topic. Before long, the dishes were served. Lu Wei opened a bottle of beer and filled each glass. To our ever-strengthening Navy. To our motherland. Cheers. The 4 glasses clinked together. After the first sip, the conversation naturally shifted to the evening's main focus, the J-20 stealth fighter. With its aerodynamic design and futuristic aesthetics, it undoubtedly ranks as the most stunning 5th-generation fighter globally, overshadowing even the J-22. The group animatedly discussed, their excitement palpable. This was the simple and pure joy of military enthusiasts. After dinner, they emerged into the now darkened surroundings. The 4 climbed into Lu Wei's car, heading towards Phoenix Mountain. By the time they reached the foot of the mountain, it was already 7:30. The mountain path was rugged and challenging in the night, and they relied on the beam of their flashlights to guide them as they ascended. An hour later, they finally arrived, breathless, at a clearing atop the mountain. The view was magnificent, allowing them to clearly see the runway lights of the Air Force Base 3 kilometers away, twinkling like a string of exquisite pearls in the night. Lu Wei raised his telescope and observed for a while, only to lower it with a hint of disappointment. There was not a single aircraft on the runway. "Come over and sit for a while," he called from a large boulder towering over a person's height, located just a few meters away. Several others approached. Discovering the boulder's top was remarkably flat and spacious. It was more than sufficient not only for standing, but even for lying down and rolling about. Upon reaching the boulder, Lu Wei retrieved some peanuts and a few cans of beer from his backpack, distributing them among the group. A refreshing mountain breeze swept through, dispelling the heat of the day. Chun Bei, after finishing a can of beer, reclined on the cool stone, gazing up at the brilliant starry sky. Unbeknownst to him, he gradually drifted into slumber. "What time is it?" Chun Bei was startled awake by a sudden chill. Sitting up. "It's nearly 4, Lu Wei replied, having not succumbed to sleep. "Is there still no news?" Chun Bei inquired about the 20. "None." Lu Wei's tone wavered with uncertainty. "Surely we haven't come here for nothing?" Wang Lei murmured, rubbing his eyes. "There should be something," Lu Wei reassured him, from what has been shared online. Most of the operations happen at night, with several flights even taking off in the early hours. He was indeed correct. The majority of the 20's training and missions were scheduled for the night. Yet, whether there was a mission today, Chun Bei himself could not ascertain. Since delegating routine patrols to automated intelligence, he had paid little attention. Chen Mu excused himself to relieve himself, walking a few meters away, where he took out his phone and messaged the intelligence. "Is there a flight mission for the 20 tonight?" The response was instantaneous. "Report to the commander. There are no scheduled flight missions tonight." "None? Then we've wasted an entire night waiting. Should I issue a command for the 20 to take a flight now?" Just as he prepared to send a message, Chun Bei abruptly halted. A phone rang from the dark woods below, some tens of meters away. The woods were pitch black, obscuring all visibility. Were they enthusiasts like themselves? Soon, voices emerged, conversing in English. English? Foreigners. Chun Bei felt a jolt run through him. Suddenly realizing the gravity of the situation, he swiftly turned and hurried back to the boulder. Lu Wei and the others were languidly lying on the stone, counting stars. "Luga, there is something," Chun Bei whispered urgently, his expression grave. "What?" Lu Wei began to inquire. "Sure." Chun Bei covered his mouth, urging, "Don't speak. There are people coming up from below. We must hide quickly." Under Chun Bei's insistence, the three descended and concealed themselves in the shadows behind the boulder. "What's going on, Xiao Bei?" Lu Wei whispered. "I just heard someone down there speaking on the phone in English." Chun Bei's tone was serious. "I suspect they might be spies." The word spies sent their hearts racing in an instant. "They're coming." Lu Wei wished to inquire further when he heard faint footsteps and the rustling of branches below. A shadow emerged from the woods and ascended to the mountaintop. Under the dim moonlight, he discerned a man wearing a cap, of medium build, carrying a backpack. The light was too insufficient to clearly see his features. Upon reaching the summit, the man cautiously scanned his surroundings. Fortunately, due to the concealment of a large rock, he failed to notice the 4 individuals hiding behind it. After assuring himself of safety, the shadow set down his backpack and retrieved a high-powered binoculars equipped with night vision capabilities. Behind the boulder, Lu Wei nudged Chun Bei's arm and leaned closer to whisper, "Are you certain he is speaking English?" Chun Bei nodded emphatically. Just then, the shadow's phone rang again. He answered, immediately speaking in English. This time, the 4 concealed behind the rock could hear him distinctly. Indeed, it was English. It was now almost certain that this individual was likely a spy. In the dead of night, what business could a foreigner have here? The 4 strained their ears. Yet none could comprehend the English being spoken. What to do? Lu Wei and Wang Lei exchanged a glance and gestured with sign language. Chun Bei and Zhang Chong watched in confusion. After a few hand signals, Lu Wei and Wang Lei nodded in agreement, seemingly reaching a consensus. Lu Wei then leaned towards Chun Bei and said in a hushed tone, "Wang Lei and I will approach and subdue him. You and Zhang Chong remain here. Do not move. Are you confident?" Chun Bei asked anxiously. He wished to assist, but was acutely aware of his limitations. Lu Wei nodded. Among the 4, Lu Wei and Wang Lei were veterans, and Lu Wei gestured again, to which Wang Lei acknowledged with a nod. In the next moment, Lu Wei lowered his body, akin to a stalking leopard, utilizing the cover of the grass to stealthily advance. Meanwhile, Wang Lei circled around from the other side of the boulder. The atmosphere became palpably tense. Hiding behind a rock, Chun Bei's heart raced. Unable to restrain himself, he peeked out just in time to witness Lu Wei springing into action, leaping upon the unsuspecting shadow from less than 2 meters away, tackling him to the ground with the ferocity of a ravenous predator. Immediately after, Wang Lei charged in from the opposite side. "Who are you?" The shadow exclaimed in halting Chinese, fear evident in his voice. "Don't move," Lu Wei shouted. Seeing this, Chun Bei and Zhang Chong rushed out from behind the rock. The shadow was firmly pinned to the ground by the two veterans, utterly subdued. Chun Bei activated his phone's flashlight, illuminating the man's face, which revealed a foreigner with high cheekbones and deep-set eyes. You foreigners still struggle. Be compliant. Lu Wei tightened his grip. Chapter 50. Underestimating the capabilities of game intelligence. Check his bag, Lu Wei commanded, firmly restraining the struggling foreigner as he called out to Chun Bei. Without hesitation, Chun Bei seized a backpack from the nearby bushes and unzipped it. Inside, he discovered a night vision device, a power bank, and a professional telephoto camera. Sensing something else within, he reached into the bag's compartment and felt a solid object. To his astonishment, it was a black Sig Sauer 226 handgun. My heavens, it's truly a firearm, Zhang Chong exclaimed, taken aback. It was evident that the clandestine foreigner was, without a doubt, a spy. What sensible military enthusiast would venture to the summit of Phoenix Mountain armed with a standard-issue military handgun? Simultaneously, Wang Lei uncovered a sharp military dagger from the subdued foreigner's waistband. Let us bind him up to prevent any chance of escape, Lu Wei stated gravely. Zhang Chong quickly returned to the boulder and retrieved a bundle of spare climbing rope from a mountaineering backpack. Moments later, the unfortunate foreign spy was securely tied up, his mouth gagged with cloth, rendering him unable to utter a sound. Beep, beep, beep. Wang Lei dialed the emergency services on his phone. We have apprehended a suspicious foreigner at the summit of Phoenix Mountain. He possesses a firearm and a dagger, suspected of being a spy. We have him under control. Following the call, the group faced a prolonged wait. The sky began to lighten, hinting at dawn. At the foot of the mountain, several police vehicles were parked, their flashing red and blue lights shimmering in the early morning light. Numerous armed special police officers stood around, their expressions serious. Soon after, a contingent of fully armed officers escorted the foreigner down the mountain. Following closely behind were Chun Bei and his companions, descending as well. Once seated in a police vehicle, the tension they had maintained throughout the night finally began to dissipate. It felt surreal. Who would have imagined that their original intent to observe for a mere 20 minutes would lead to the capture of a spy? Such an occurrence would be hard to believe if recounted. Liu Yi, Wang Yi, you ris incredible, Chun Bei remarked, giving a thumbs up to the two seated across from him. Had it not been for their backgrounds as seasoned veterans with exceptional skills, capturing the spy would have been a daunting challenge, especially considering the foreigner was armed. The thought sent a shiver down Chun Bei's spine. It's all thanks to you for spotting the anomaly first, Lu Wei said, patting Chun Bei's shoulder with a smile. It's a pity we didn't TC the plane after all. Wang Lei gazed out the window, a hint of regret in his voice. Their original goal, now, seemed entirely unattainable. Nonetheless, capturing a spy is quite an achievement, Lu Wei exclaimed with a hearty laugh. This is far more meaningful than just watching planes. We VE contributed to our country. Zhang Chong chuckled. Indeed, we have quite the story to tell upon our return. Chun Bei, gazing out of the car window at the receding Phoenix Mountain, smiled enigmatically. You will see. As the convoy ventured onto the national highway, they gradually distanced themselves from the scene. By the time Chun Bei and his three companions emerged from the police station after completing their statements, it was already noon. Lu Wei, stifling two yawns, bore dark circles under his eyes, exuding fatigue, yet his gaze betrayed an undeniable excitement. Following a morning of inquiries and investigations, it was preliminarily established that a foreigner named John Anderson, ostensibly a freelance journalist for a Western news agency, was in fact a spy. The specifics, however, were beyond the knowledge of the four. Ultimately, it mattered little. As long as they confirmed he was indeed a spy, they felt assured they had not apprehended the wrong individual. The day's extraordinary experience would provide ample tales for a lifetime. Regrettably, due to the confidentiality agreement they had signed, the thrilling details of the incident would remain locked within their minds, unable to be shared with outsiders. I must take my leave. I am utterly exhausted and in need of a nap. At the intersection, Chun Bei waved farewell to his companions and hailed taxi. Leaning against the back seat, he retrieved his phone. Within it lay a photograph of John Anderson, taken on the mountain. With a sense of tentative curiosity, Chun Bei sent the image to the intelligence system, accompanied by a message. Can you ascertain the true identity of this foreign spy? Affirmative, the system replied. Within mere moments, it had gathered extensive information on John Anderson that left Chun Bei astounded. Name, John Anderson. Public identity. Special correspondent for Global News Agency. True identity. Level 3 employee. Special Activities Division, CIA Operations Mission History, previously involved in. Accompanying this was a detailed background and history of the individual. Incredible, Chun Bei exclaimed internally as he gazed at his phone screen. The intelligence system was astonishingly adept. He realized he had underestimated its capabilities. After all, this was a genuinely intelligent system. As Chun Bei perused Anderson's profile, he noted that although the individual's credentials appeared formidable within the CIA, He was merely a subordinate responsible for peripheral intelligence gathering. Reflecting on this, it seemed that precisely because he was a mere pawn, he had been so easily apprehended. A pressing question then arose. If the CIA had managed to infiltrate Phoenix Mountain, it was reasonable to assume that the Air Force Base, the Coast Guard base, and even the shipyards in Jiangnan and Maui likely harbored additional spies, potentially even more significant targets. Could the intelligence system uncover them all? Chunbei tentatively posed another inquiry. Are you capable of monitoring and identifying all foreign spies embedded within our base? Commander, I can monitor all mobile phones and communication devices within a base. Should I detect any suspicious activity, I will be able to identify the spies. But this requires your authorization, the system responded. With a surge of determination, Chunbei promptly issued an authorization directive. Excellent. I hereby authorize comprehensive surveillance of the Sanya Coast Guard base, the Phoenix Air Force Base, and all personnel communications within the two major shipyards. Should any suspicious individuals or espionage activities be detected, report to me immediately. Yes, Commander. Once the order was given, Chunbei exhaled in relief. To be candid, today marked the capture of a spy, a thrill that remained vividly etched in his memory. This individual was merely a minor player in the external network, which led Chunbei to ponder the deeper infiltration of spies lurking within. With the extraordinary capabilities of intelligence at hand, any spy daring to surface would inevitably be uncovered, unless, of course, they chose to remain dormant indefinitely, which was an impossibility. Chunbei was convinced that hostile nations like the United States and Japan were likely already aware of the existence of the Third Coast Guard Fleet and would spare no effort in launching an investigation. Perhaps, by following the trail, they might even unearth a few long-hidden big fish. Only time would tell. Chapter 51. The First Aircraft Carrier. Coming soon upon returning to his rented accommodation, Chunbei's first action was to sit before his computer and launch the game. He signed in. Sign in successful. You have earned 1 technology point and 1,000 gold coins. Current technology points, 43,100. Current gold coins, 45,000. Observing the steadily increasing figures brought Chunbei joy. With 43 technology points accumulated, he was a mere 57 points away from unlocking level 2 technology. Even without any additional efforts, merely through signing in, he would need less than 2 months to reach that milestone. Once level 2 technology was unlocked, it would truly be a moment of takeoff. Moreover, his gold coins had also amassed to 450,000. Over the past few days, he had executed several routine patrol missions, which, although not triggering extra technology point rewards, had nonetheless netted him an additional 4,000 gold coins. Chunbei clicked the mouse, shifting the game's perspective to the waters off Fujian. 2 newly launched Type 052 destroyers were sailing in formation on the surface of the sea. Though labeled as sea trials, it was merely a FAA, allowing the sailors and researchers dispatched by the Navy to board the vessels ahead of time to familiarize themselves with and study the various capabilities of this new domestic warship. The perspective shifted once more, arriving at the Jiangnan shipyard in Shanghai. Inside the dock, 5 brand new Type 052 destroyers, alongside one from the Maui shipyard, totaled 6 vessels. Half a year is a short wait, Chunbei murmured to himself. He then moved the game's viewpoint, directing his gaze to the largest and most eye-catching dock now. 6 within the shipyard. There, a massive aircraft carrier was moored. Indeed, it was the Variag, though it had undergone a significant transformation. The island was completely refurbished, and the flight deck had been newly laid. This vessel would be the first aircraft carrier of the future Dragon Nation's navy, the Liaoning, with the prowess of intelligence. He was fully aware of all pertinent information regarding this aircraft carrier. According to the original plan, the renovation of the Liaoning aircraft carrier has been largely completed and was scheduled for formal delivery to the Navy in September of this year, with less than 2 months remaining. However, this timeline has been postponed. The reason lies with Chunbei. Chunbei has meticulously studied the data pertaining to the Liaoning carrier. And frankly speaking, as the pioneering vessel of the Dragon Nation's naval fleet, its technological level remains relatively outdated, especially when compared to the United States Navy's Nimitz and Ford classes, which exhibit a significant disparity. This is quite understandable, considering that this is the Dragon Nation's first aircraft carrier, and there was no prior experience to draw upon. Acquiring the hull of the Variag for modification has allowed for substantial time savings and experiential learning, thus laying a foundation for subsequent domestically produced carriers. This strategy is entirely sound. However, with the advent of the game as a super enhancement, Chunbei is no longer satisfied with the status quo. Once he unlocks the second-tier technology, he can implement a transformative upgrade to the Liaoning carrier, requiring merely a bit more patience. When Chunbei proposed to the military, through intelligent means, the postponement of the carrier's launch to allow for further technological advancements, he faced virtually no resistance and swiftly obtained approval. The military had no reason to decline. Who would refuse a more powerful and technologically advanced aircraft carrier? Moreover, Chun Bei would acquire it at a negligible cost, akin to obtaining a carrier for free. Upgrading an existing carrier is an entirely different proposition in terms of the gold and technology points required compared to constructing one from scratch. The aircraft carrier is imminent. Observing the Liaoning in the dry dock, Chun Bei felt a surge of excitement. After gazing for a while longer, he reluctantly redirected his attention. The perspective shifted to locations such as Renai Reef and the Sanya Coast Guard base, where preparations for exercises and the expansion of the base were proceeding in an orderly fashion. Chun Bei recalled that Liu Wei and his companions had stayed up all night only to miss the appearance of the 20. They must be feeling quite disappointed. This regret needs to be addressed for his friends. In just a few days, it will be the Army Day, and the 20 should officially debut before the nation as a grand gift for the occasion. This notion is quite appealing. Intelligent. Chun Bei issued a directive to inform Captain Zhou, suggesting that on Army Day, arrangements be made for a public flight demonstration of the 20. Understood, Commander. As soon as the order was given, a prompt appeared on the game interface, triggering special mission, Army Day Tribute. Mission requirements. Successfully organize a stunning public flight demonstration of the 20 on Army Day, showcasing national pride and military might. Mission rewards. 2 technology points, 3,000 gold. Chun Bei chuckled with delight. This is excellent. Not only will it fulfill the wishes of military enthusiasts, but it will also yield substantial rewards. Truly a win-win situation. Chun Bei couldn't help but yawn. He had hardly slept on the mountain last night and hadn't rested in the morning. At this moment, he felt quite fatigued. Feeling too lethargic to bathe, Chun Bei reclined on his bed to catch some sleep. Meanwhile, within the conference room of the Sanya Maritime Police Base, an urgent meeting convened by Zhou Jinghua was underway. In attendance were senior military officers from the base, along with several liaison officers from the South China Sea Fleet and the Air Force. Comrades, Zhou Jinghua cleared his throat, his expression grave as he announced, "We have just received the latest directive from 001. It is suggested that on the upcoming Army Day, we arrange for 20 fighter jets to conduct a public flight demonstration as a grand tribute to the occasion." As soon as he finished speaking, the room erupted into a flurry of suppressed discussions. What? A public flight demonstration right now? A colonel liaison officer from the Air Force frowned. The 20s have only just attained initial combat readiness. Is it not too hasty to reveal them so soon? Indeed, another naval colonel concurred. Such a significant national asset as the 20 should be kept as confidential as possible, ideally concealed for 5 to 6 years until they have achieved a scalable combat capability, before revealing them at an opportune moment to maximize strategic deterrence. These perspectives reflected the military's traditional mindset of harboring power and waiting for the right moment. However, their collaborator 001 operated by an entirely different set of principles. Zhou Jinghua raised his hand to signal for silence. He understood his colleague's concerns. Yet his perspective on the matter had subtly shifted. He began to elucidate, incorporating his own conjectures. Gentlemen, we must recognize that 001's thought process may differ from ours. To them, perhaps a 5th-generation fighter jet of the 20 caliber is not something to be concealed. This statement plunged the conference room into contemplation once more. Indeed, in the eyes of extraterrestrial civilizations, what Earthlings regard as pinnacle technology, the 5th-generation fighter jets, might be akin to mere toys. This notion clarified many things. The reason 001 was willing to share the technology of the 20s might simply be that they deemed it adequate for our use, while they undoubtedly possessed even more advanced and astonishing fighter jet technologies. The ultimate goal of the military's collaboration with 001 was to acquire superior technology, facilitating a leap in national defense science and technology. With this realization, all present understood. As long as 001's requests were not excessively outrageous, such as instigating a world war, the military had to extend the utmost trust and cooperation. And merely arranging a flight demonstration as a tribute for Army Day, was that truly an unreasonable demand? This could be seen as a positive development. It would not only showcase national strength and military might, but also uplift the morale of the citizenry, while simultaneously indulging 001's minor interest. I concur. The Air Force liaison officer was the first to change his stance. I also agree. This presents a splendid opportunity to showcase our Air Force's newfound strength to the world. Resounding approval echoed through the conference room as consensus was swiftly reached. The motion was passed, just hours after the meeting concluded that afternoon. The official website and social media accounts of the Dragon Nation Coast Guard simultaneously released a momentous announcement to commemorate the anniversary of the prestigious People's Liberation Army of the Dragon Nation. Our Sanya Coast Guard 3rd Brigade will hold a public flight demonstration of 20 fighter jets, codenamed Sword of Victory, at 10 a.m. on August 1st, Armed Forces Day, at the Phoenix Air Force Base. This event is dedicated to our heroic People's Army. A selection of media representatives and members of the public will be invited to witness this spectacle. This announcement detonated across the internet like a nuclear bomb, propelling public discourse to an unprecedented fervor. Within mere minutes, the topic of the August 1st public flight demonstration ascended to the pinnacle of trending charts across major platforms. The enthusiasm of netizens was ignited. Wow, wow, wow. The 20 is set to perform publicly. Is this real? An official announcement. Absolutely true. My goodness. This happiness comes so unexpectedly. Celebrating Armed Forces Day with our own 5th-generation fighter jets. What a more formidable gift could there be? I am begging for a chance to witness this event live. I would gladly trade my annual salary for a ticket. I'm in Hainan, already preparing to secure a spot on Phoenix Mountain. Brothers, see you on the mountain then. Some expressed confusion, questioning why the Coast Guard's official account released the news instead of the Air Force. Simultaneously, military journalists from several mainstream domestic media outlets, including the Central Military Channel and Phoenix Network, received formal electronic invitations from the Sanya Coast Guard base, urging them to attend and report live on the inaugural public flight of the 20 fighter jets. In addition to official media, a select group of military enthusiasts also received invitations. In Haikou, within a residential building, Lu Wei had just awakened, roused by the persistent calls of his 8-year-old son. Daddy, Daddy, I want to watch cartoons. Cartoons? Watch them yourself, Lu Wei yawned. Rising from bed, he approached his desk, opened his laptop, and asked, "Is it Bears on the Run?" "I want Paw Patrol," his son replied. Just as Lu Wei opened Paw Patrol and prepared to return to bed, his phone rang. It was an unfamiliar local number. "Hello," Lu Wei answered. "Good day, is this Mr. Lu Wei? This is the Sanya Coast Guard base." A man's voice emerged from the other end. The mention of the Coast Guard base immediately triggered Lu Wei's suspicion. Was this a scam? "Yes," he replied cautiously. Sensing his skepticism, the caller quickly added, "I am Lieutenant Li. We met this morning at Phoenix Mountain." Lieutenant Li. Phoenix Mountain? Lu Wei's mind snapped into focus. Wasn't he the special police captain who led the team that morning? Captain Li. Hello. Lu Wei's demeanor transformed dramatically. "Indeed, Mr. Lu." Lieutenant Li's voice carried a hint of mirth. "In light of your gallant actions alongside your companions, we have received authorization from our superiors to extend a special invitation to you four, as representatives of military enthusiasts, to attend the live aerial performance of the 20 on August 1st. May I inquire if you are available?" "Absolutely. I'm available," Lu Wei exclaimed, his excitement rendering him nearly incoherent. Following their conversation, Lieutenant Li shared a few more words before ending the call. Overwhelmed with elation, Lu Wei immediately conveyed the news in their group chat. "Brothers, tremendous news. We have been invited to witness the aerial performance of the 20 in person." Wang Lei quickly replied, "Haha, I received it too." Zhang Chang added, "Incredible. Is this a reward for us?" Their collective excitement was palpable. "Where is Xiao Bei? Still asleep?" Lu Wei inquired. At that moment, Chun Bei was indeed still slumbering soundly. He slept so deeply that it was already dark outside when he finally awoke. Upon glancing at his phone, he noticed several missed calls, all from Lu Wei and his companions. The WeChat group chat displayed hundreds of unread messages. Chun Bei opened the group chat and swiftly skimmed through the messages, a knowing smile spreading across his face. Lu Wei and the others had received invitations to the event. Chen by Chako Zuftli, including himself. The 4 special invitations appeared to be a reward from the Coast Guard base for their assistance in apprehending a spy. However, the true initiator of the invitation was 001. Through his intelligence network, Chun Bei had sent invitations in the name of the 3rd team to 500 military enthusiasts nationwide, with his name and those of Lu Wei and his companions seamlessly integrated into the extensive list. Naturally, no one questioned the legitimacy of this roster. In the group chat, Chun Bei simply replied, "Just woke up, I received it too. See you at the August 1st event." He then got out of bed and went out for a meal. Days turned into weeks, and before long, August 1st, the Army Day and the date of the 20's inaugural public flight performance arrived. At the Phoenix Air Force Base, a festive atmosphere prevailed. A vast viewing platform had been temporarily erected alongside the expansive runway. The red carpet, fluttering flags, and colorful ribbons adorned the airport, creating an ambience that was both solemn and celebratory. The viewing platform was packed with nearly 3,000 attendees, including representatives dressed in various military uniforms, media reporters with their cameras, and military enthusiasts from across the nation. As Chapter 53 officially announced the 20's formal commissioning, crowds gathered on rooftops of nearby high-rise buildings and even farther on hilltops. At this moment, Chun Bei, Lu Wei, Zhang Chang, and Wang Lei occupied a prime position near the front of the viewing platform, eagerly observing the proceedings. Despite having experienced the game from a godlike perspective countless times, Chen Bei found it exceedingly difficult to suppress the excitement coursing through him as he sat there, absorbing the atmosphere. He glanced back and saw a professional camera emblazoned with the emblem of Military Report 7. A poised female reporter was live-streaming, addressing the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I am currently positioned at the flight performance viewing site at the Phoenix Air Force Base in Sanya, Hainan. Simultaneously, the online streaming room of the military channel was inundated with an overwhelming flood of comments. Here they come. Snacks and drinks available in the front row. Witness history unfold. Our dragon is magnificent. Anticipating the stunning debut of the 20. Thank you, valiant soldiers. Wishing you a joyous holiday. The electrifying scene began to form in his mind, stirring his blood with fervor. As time ticked away, the countdown to 10 o'clock dwindled to less than 10 minutes. Suddenly, a minor commotion erupted in the front row of the viewing platform. Major General Zhou Jinghua, clad in a crisp military uniform, entered through a side aisle, flanked by a cadre of officers of the rank of major. He walked past Chen Bei, who was seated merely 3 to 4 meters away, completely unaware that the enigmatic figure, revered by him and the entire military establishment, was present among the crowd, observing him with intrigue. Once Zhou Jinghua and the other officers took their seats, the air resonated with the stirring notes of military music, silencing the chatter from the stands. Good morning, esteemed guests. A booming voice announced over the broadcast. Following a few customary opening remarks, the voice escalated. The sort of victory flight performance is about to commence. Please rise for the national anthem. In unison, 3,000 individuals on the viewing platform stood up. The majestic strains of the March of the Volunteers filled the air, and all present, military personnel and civilians alike, sang out loudly, their voices merging into a powerful force that echoed across the airport grounds. Once the ceremony concluded, everyone returned to their seats. Chen Bei noticed that nearly everyone around him had taken out their phones or cameras, ready to capture this historic moment. Just then, 100 meters away, the massive doors of 6 climate-controlled hangars began to slide open with a deep rumble. Within, the iconic duck wings and futuristic diamond-shaped nose of the 20 aircraft were revealed. One by one, 12 silver-gray 20 fighter jets glided out of the hangars, appearing like swords drawn from their sheaths. Indeed, it was 12 planes. Just the night before, 6 more prototype 20 aircraft had quietly arrived at the Phoenix base, upgraded by the game system in record time. For this flight performance, 12 planes were to be deployed. This was Chen Bei's decision. If they were to make a public display, they would do it grandly. Unveiling the formidable fleet of 12 aircraft in the most direct and striking manner possible sends a clear message to the world, especially to the Americans. It is noteworthy that despite the U.S. military's meticulous efforts, they have only deployed 14 F-22s throughout the Asia-Pacific region, with 12 stationed at Kadena Air Base and the remaining 2 in South Korea. We are now presenting you with 12 aircraft. Just imagine how many more we have that remain unseen. To further confound the Americans, Chen Bei cleverly altered the tail numbers of the subsequent 6 aircraft, deliberately changing them to 027, 028, up to 032. Judging by the numbering, the Dragon country's military has at least 32 F-22s in service. Naturally, the Americans will harbor doubts. Let them indulge their suspicions. As the 12 F-22s gracefully taxied out of the hangar, the entire viewing platform was immediately engulfed by a thunderous roar of applause. F-22. It's an F-22. Absolutely magnificent. My goodness, it's stunning. Chen Bei exclaimed, joining the crowd in exuberant cheers. Indeed, it was breathtaking, with its sci-fi-inspired canard layout, sharp diamond-shaped fuselage, and shimmering metallic stealth coating. There was no denying this was the most stunning 5th-generation fighter jet in the world, bar none. The aircraft slowly glided closer to the runway area designated for the spectators. Wow, that's incredible. Lu Wei, beside Chen Bei, flushed with excitement, rendered speechless. Click, click, click. Wang Lei, wielding a professional telephoto camera, captured each moment with the rapidity of a machine gun, fearing he might miss any detail. The planes approached ever nearer, finally halting less than 20 meters from the viewing platform on the main runway. The 12 aircraft formed 3 distinct formations. At such proximity, the skin and lines of the F-22s, even the rivets, were clearly visible. If one were to inquire about Chen Bei's feelings at that moment, they would be met with exhilaration, pride, and an indescribable fervor, as if the blood coursing through his veins was alight with fervor. In front of him, a man in his 50s waved a small red flag with fervor, his neck flushed with excitement, continually exclaiming, "Wonderful! Wonderful! Wonderful!" Just then, the broadcast crackled to life once more, resonating with immense pride. The J-22 Wulong is our nation's independently developed fifth-generation stealth fighter. Its official service marks the entry of our Air Force into the era of fifth-generation aircraft. Wow. Lu Wei suddenly grasped Chen Bei's shoulder, shaking him vigorously. Xiao Bai. Did you hear that? Did you hear it? It's officially announced. It's in service. Yes, I heard it. Chen Bai replied loudly. Incredible. It's already in service? Am I hearing this right? The F-22 is operational now. Is that true? The broadcast confirmed it. This is an official announcement. How could it be false? That's fantastic. The entire viewing platform erupted in fervor. Since the exposure of the J-20 photographs online, numerous military analysts and enthusiasts have analyzed its camouflage, confirming its service. The official announcement of a flight demonstration on August 1st, coinciding with the Army Day, further corroborated that this fighter jet has been officially inducted into the Air Force. However, many military aficionados still express skepticism, struggling to believe it. The pace of developments was simply astonishing. Just months ago, Americans were questioning the authenticity of the J-20, suspecting it to be a mere ruse from the Dragon Nation. Yet today, at this very moment, the official declaration confirmed that the Dragon Nation's fifth-generation fighter has indeed entered service. In Chapter 54, the excitement reached a fever pitch, with countless military fans moved to tears. At that moment, on the runway, the two leading J-20 sprang into action. The engines at the rear suddenly expelled fiery orange plumes, accelerating with a deafening roar. The two fighter jets leapt into the sky, soaring towards the azure heavens. Thunderous applause reverberated throughout the airport. Chen Bei clapped vigorously, his hands reddened from the fervent applause. As the jets ascended into the blue, Chen Bei's eyes glistened with emotion. He was not alone. Beside him, Lu Wei, a man in his 30s, also felt the sting of tears. A nearby elder, overwhelmed with excitement, expressed his joy through animated gestures, tears streaming down his face. One after another, 12 J-20s took off in pairs, roaring skyward. They assembled above the base, circling majestically to form a massive arrow-shaped formation, swooping low over the viewing platform. The oppressive sensation of their presence and the thunderous sonic booms elevated the crowd's cheers to a new zenith. In the distance, atop Phoenix Mountain, some fervent military enthusiasts unfurled a colossal 5-star red flag measuring dozens of meters in length and width, just as the J-20 formation soared overhead, creating a breathtaking scene filled with epic grandeur. It was exhilarating. Many were moved to tears. The fighter jet formation completed a graceful turn in the distant sky and began its return. Suddenly, one J-20 broke from the formation, executing a breathtaking maneuver in midair. The aircraft rotated horizontally in a manner defying the laws of physics, descending like a drifting leaf. The viewing platform erupted in cheers, akin to crashing waves. To the ordinary observer, this maneuver appeared extraordinarily cool. However, to countless military enthusiasts and professionals, it symbolized the unmatched maneuverability and flight control capabilities of the aircraft. Previously, enthusiasts could only admire foreign jets like the Su-35 and the F-22 performing advanced maneuvers, such as the falling leaf or Cobra maneuver online. Now, our very own J-20 had achieved the same. In the live broadcast room of the CCTV military channel, the barrage of comments went utterly wild. So cool. I cried. It truly moved me to tears. Tears welled up. It was truly an emotional moment, a testament to the arduous journey undertaken. The magnificence of these machines is simply breathtaking. This is the embodiment of a great nation's strength. Those who dare to offend our China shall face dire consequences, no matter the distance. There is indeed a newfound confidence. A salute to all those in the aviation industry. A tribute to our esteemed scientists. During the flight demonstration of the Y-20, related videos and images swiftly circulated across the globe through live broadcasts and major media outlets. The power of the Dragon Nation was displayed as 12 Y-20 Flying Dragons made their inaugural public appearance, heralding their official service, according to Reuters. This unprecedented showcase of 12 fifth-generation fighter jets challenged the aerial supremacy of the United States, as reported by the Associated Press. The exceptional maneuverability of the Y-20, likened to leaves dancing in the wind, signifies a historic leap for China's aviation industry, as noted by Agence France-Presse. Major global media outlets, including Reuters, the Associated Press, and Agence France-Presse, immediately featured the debut of the 12 stealth fighters on their front pages. In the library of the University of Melbourne, a Chinese student named Lin Yu, wearing headphones and engrossed in his thesis, instinctively clicked on a Chinese news notification that popped up on his phone. Breaking news. Our nation's fifth-generation fighter, the Y-20, officially enters service, with 12 jets dazzlingly showcased. Lin's interest was piqued. Upon watching the video and witnessing the 12 futuristic silver gray aircraft glide out of the hangar amid thunderous cheers, an indescribable sense of pride and excitement surged through him. Especially while abroad. Were it not for the library's decorum, Lin Yu would have erupted in cheers. After watching the video, he shared it on the world's largest video platform. Y-20, China's fifth-generation stealth fighter, officially enters service. 12 jets flying in formation. Soon, comments from netizens worldwide flooded in. Incredible. What beautiful and powerful machines. Congratulations to the Dragon Nation on such a monumental achievement. As an aviation enthusiast from Brazil, I must say the Y-20 is an engineering marvel. However, alongside the praise, there were also numerous skeptical and disparaging remarks. Fake. This is all computer-generated effects. China lacks the technology to produce a true stealth fighter. It looks cool, but I bet its engines are still Russian, haha. This must be a promotional video. Their so-called stealth aircraft could likely be detected by 1980s radar. Initially, Lin Yu responded patiently to these critical comments, presenting facts and reasoning, until a comment from Stick named 88 ignited Lin Yu's fury. Dream on, Dragon Country. Your 20 is merely a poor imitation of our future 21. You will never catch up to Korea's technology. Chapter 55, The Mole. Damn those sticks. Lin Yu fumed. We can understand the skepticism from Americans and Europeans, as they have long held a technological advantage and possess a sense of superiority. But you, a mere stick, dare to speak so boldly? What gives you such confidence? With a flurry of keystrokes, Lin Yu unleashed his wrath. On the viewing platform, cheers surged like waves. Chun Bei felt his voice nearly give out, as the 12 aircraft completed their final formation maneuver, gracefully tracing arcs in the sky before entering their descent path. This breathtaking aerial display approached its conclusion. The fighter jets slowly landed, returning to their hangar. The performance had ended, yet most on the platform remained, reluctant to depart. Cheers! In an open-air bar, for glasses filled with chilled beer clinked together with a resounding thud. To the 20. To our Air Force! Lu Wei exclaimed, his face flushed with excitement. After leaving Phoenix Base, the four, brimming with exhilaration, decided to find a place to continue their celebration. Chun Bei downed his beer in one go, exhaling with satisfaction. Just as he settled down, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out to reveal a smile that only he understood. It was a message from Smart. Mission, August 1st tribute completed. Rewards, 2 technology points, 3,000 gold coins. Current technology points, 53,100. Current gold coins, 52,000. With the reward secured, Chun Bei felt increasingly elated. He picked up the bottle and refilled his glass, raising a high. Brothers, cheers. Let us drink to this wonderful day. By the time Chun Bei, slightly inebriated, wobbled back to his rented room, it was already past 3 in the afternoon. He had indulged a bit too much. Feeling joyous, he didn't bother to change out of his clothes and simply collapsed onto his bed. Retrieving his phone, he squinted at the screen and spoke. Smart, has the news of the 20 service been reported by the 4 media? Reporting, Commander, Smart's voice responded. All major global media outlets have featured the 20's flight demonstration on their front pages. Smart proceeded to relay the headlines and summaries of reports from various global media, as well as the fervent discussions among netizens from different countries. A smile crept across Chun Bei's face. As he laughed, he eventually drifted off to sleep. In the capital, at the Naval Ship Power Research Institute, within a research building adorned with the national emblem, in a spacious and well-lit office, a man dressed in a white naval rear admiral's uniform, approximately in his 40s, was intently gazing at the computer screen. The screen displayed a video of the flight demonstration of the 20 Dragon aircraft. As the final aircraft landed smoothly and the video concluded, he slowly leaned back in his chair, his eyes filled with profound perplexity. His name was Wang Xiaodong, a rear admiral and the youngest deputy chief engineer at the Power Research Institute, as well as a leading expert in the domestic ship power sector. How could the 20 enter service so swiftly? This was entirely incongruous with the developmental norms of aviation engines. Yet, the facts lay before him as indisputable. Wang Xiaodong murmured to himself, contemplating the sudden emergence of the 055 and 052 destroyers, alongside the astonishing 20 aircraft. All clues ultimately pointed to the enigmatic new entity, the Sanya Coast Guard 3rd Fleet. Behind his glasses, his gaze flickered uncertainly, and no one knew what thoughts occupied his mind. Knock, knock, knock. At that moment, a knock resonated at the office door. Kumin, an elderly gentleman with graying hair and vigorous spirit, entered. Director, Wang Xiaodong promptly stood up, coming to attention. The elder smiled and gestured for him to sit down, then retrieved a document from his briefcase and handed it over. Xiaodong, he said, his tone turning serious, we have just received an urgent dispatch from the naval headquarters. The organization has decided to assign you to the Sanya Coast Guard base immediately to participate in a highly confidential technical project. Upon hearing this, Wang Xiangdong's heart leapt with joy, though he maintained a facade of appropriate confusion. The Coast Guard base? Director, my expertise lies in ship propulsion. Isn't my assignment somewhat misplaced? Ah, this Coast Guard is not the same as what you might expect, the director replied with a knowing smile. Xiangdong, you must have seen the news. The two latest 055 and 2052 vessels belong to the structure of this third fleet. This unit is anything but ordinary. What makes the third fleet so exceptional? Wang Xiangdong inquired seamlessly. The director shook his head. I'm also unclear on the specifics. The confidentiality level is exceedingly high. All I know is that you are our institute's most distinguished expert in integrated electric propulsion and new power systems. The higher-ups have specifically requested you, indicating their great esteem for your abilities. I hope that in this new assignment, you will continue to shine and contribute significantly to the naval development. Yes, I assure you I will accomplish the mission. Wang Xiangdong straightened his posture and saluted solemnly. After taking the dispatch, he glanced at it and asked, when do I depart? In half an hour, a special aircraft will be waiting. So urgent? A hint of surprise crossed Wang Xiangdong's face. I will return to my office to prepare immediately. With that, he promptly began to organize his computer and several crucial technical documents on his desk. At 3 in the afternoon, a military transport aircraft landed smoothly at the Haikou Military Airport. A group of 5 or 6 officers clad in various military uniforms descended the gangway in succession, with Major General Wang Xiangdong among them. A military vehicle bearing a special license plate awaited them on the tarmac. 40 minutes later, the vehicle glided smoothly into the heavily guarded Sanya Coast Guard base. Through the car window, Wang observed the bustling construction sites within the base, a flicker of barely perceptible excitement crossing his eyes. At last, he had arrived. Indeed, he was the mole, a pivotal pawn deeply entrenched within the core of the military-industrial complex of the Dragon Country, embedded at the highest echelons. 2 decades prior, during his studies in Germany, a serendipitous event had led to his successful recruitment. Leveraging his unparalleled talent and expertise in marine engineering, he returned to his homeland, where his career flourished. By the age of 40, he had ascended to the rank of Rear Admiral in the Navy, with the prospect of further promotion to Vice Admiral and entry into the highest decision-making circles of naval equipment development appearing within reach. However, had it not been for the sudden emergence of this third unit, the Pentagon would undoubtedly not have resolved to deploy this vital asset so soon. As the military vehicle continued its journey within the base, Wang's gaze was drawn to a colossal structure obscured entirely by a steel framework in the distance, undoubtedly the dock, concealing the greatest secret of the third unit. He discreetly averted his eyes, realizing that an opportunity to unveil this shrouded mystery had finally arrived. A moment later, the vehicle halted beneath a guest house designated for experts and senior officers. Several individuals disembarked, greeted warmly by Zhou Zhenghua, who had been waiting below with a welcoming smile. Salute. Wang and his companions immediately stood at attention, returning the standard military salute. Zhou reciprocated with a salute of his own. Subsequently, arrangements were made for the experts' accommodations. Wang's room was located on the 3rd floor, numbered 314. Upon entering, he found the layout to be a 1-bedroom suite, simply yet brightly decorated, equipped with all necessary amenities. Closing the door, Wang refrained from hastily unpacking his belongings. Instead, he meticulously examined the entire space, from the living room to the bedroom, and even the bathroom, leaving no corner uninspected, including the power outlets. Once assured that there were no listening devices or hidden surveillance equipment, Wang stepped into the bedroom, retrieving a laptop from his briefcase. Upon powering on, he logged into an academic forum dedicated to international marine engineering, a niche platform gathering the world's foremost scholars. Wang posted a discussion thread titled Reflections on the Boundary Issues of Thermal Efficiency in Novel Gas Turbines. The content of the post appeared to be a serious academic discussion. Yet concealed within the text lay an encrypted message. I have successfully infiltrated. After posting, Wang Xiangdong feigned engagement by replying to several other threads, his actions aligning perfectly with those of a scholar, devoid of any suspicious behavior. Suddenly, a knock resounded at the door. Maintaining his composure, Wang Xiangdong closed his laptop and rose to answer it. At the threshold stood a young female soldier in her 20s. Greetings, sir. I am your aide, Zhang Yao. She saluted. The soldier informed Wang Xiangdong that in honor of the arrival of several experts, the base had organized a modest welcome dinner at 6 o'clock in the officers' mess. After delivering the message, she departed. Wang Xiangdong shut the door, returned to his bedroom, and resumed his leisurely browsing of the forum posts. Half an hour later, he glanced out the window. Dusk was settling in. He closed his laptop, took a quick shower, donned a clean naval uniform, and prepared to depart for the dinner. Unbeknownst to him, the moment he stepped out of the bedroom and the door clicked shut, The laptop on the table began to flicker its power indicator light in a rapid, rhythmic manner. Suspicious encrypted information detected. Initiating deep decryption protocol. Decryption successful. Message content. I have arrived. Target locked. Rear Admiral Wang Xiangdong. Confirmed as a highly suspicious individual. Immediate report to the commander. In a rented room. Chen Bai was in deep slumber. The urgent buzz of his phone jolted him from his dreams. Groggily, he reached for the device on the bedside table. Squinting at the screen, assuming it was a call. Commander, suspicious spy detected, an intelligent voice announced. In an instant, Chun Bei was wide awake, the remnants of sleep dissipating. A spy has been discovered? He asked, his heart racing. Indeed, Commander, the intelligence system replied. The discovery was remarkably swift. Merely a week prior, he had instructed the AI to monitor everyone at the base, and already had caught a target. Chun Bei hastily rose from his bed and sat before his computer. Without his command, the system powered on autonomously. It opened a game interface, revealing a dossier. Name, Wang Xiangdong. Rank, Rear Admiral. Position, Deputy Chief Engineer at the Naval Ship Power Research Institute. Chief Expert on National Key Projects. A Rear Admiral. And a leading expert in naval propulsion. Chun Bei sensed the gravity of the situation. If such an individual were indeed a spy, the potential damage to the nation would be immeasurable. How can you ascertain he's a spy? Chen Bai inquired. A video playback window suddenly appeared on the game interface, showcasing the screen of Wang Xiangdong's computer, capturing all his operations. In the footage, Wang Xiangdong logged into an academic forum and posted a message. The intelligent voice of the commander resonated, simultaneously highlighting a segment of text with a red box on the video. Half an hour ago, the system detected that Wang Xiangdong sent a message to an international academic forum. Through deep packet analysis, it was revealed that this seemingly innocuous academic discussion contained a hidden coded message, which, upon decryption, read, I have successfully entered. Chun Bei's expression turned grave as he inquired, is there any other evidence? Indeed, the intelligence system replied. The system has tracked all addresses that accessed this encrypted message. One of these addresses, located in Canberra, Australia, immediately transmitted data to a server situated in Langley, Virginia, USA, through an independent satellite encryption channel after viewing the post. Cross-referencing confirmed that this server belongs to the Central Intelligence Agency. The intelligence system continued, Commander, to decrypt more extensive and deeper encrypted files on Wang Xiangdong's computer, as well as to reverse trace the entire intelligence network. A super large-scale computation is required. Your current personal computer cannot support such a computational load. What resources are needed? Chen Bai queried. A Tiana-level super server is required, the intelligence system proposed, with a redemption price of 3,000 gold coins. 3,000 gold coins? Chun Bei clicked his tongue, realizing that some could upgrade several fighter jets. After a brief contemplation, he made a decision. No need for such complexities, he stated. Report the existing data and evidence of his encrypted messages to Captain Zhou and let them investigate. The core objective of capturing the spy has been achieved. As for following the trail to uncover more clues, that is the military's responsibility. I trust in the expertise of the military and relevant departments. Chun Bei felt no need to expend his valuable gaming resources on this matter. His gold coins and technology points should be devoted to building a more formidable fleet and aircraft. Understood, Commander. Well done, intelligence system, for swiftly identifying a significant lead. Chun Bei commended with a smile. Continue monitoring and do not overlook any suspicious targets. Thank you for your acknowledgement, Commander. Chen Bai chuckled. Having communicated with the intelligence system for an extended period, it seemed increasingly akin to a genuine person. Chen Bai yawned. Time for a shower. Later, I shall head downstairs for dinner. Chapter 57. Late-night interrogation. The operations at the Coast Guard base were remarkably swift. Just as Wang Xiangdong approached the brightly lit entrance of the officers' dining hall, his personal assistant, Zhang Yao, appeared behind him. Chief, Zhang Yao saluted sharply. Captain Zhou has urgent business and requests your presence in his office immediately. What business? Wang Xiangdong inquired. The captain remained silent. Zhang Yao replied, and Wang Xiangdong, merely asking out of curiosity, did not suspect anything amiss. Thus he followed Zhang Yao towards the office building. Upon entering the edifice, they ascended to the third floor, where the captain's office resided. Knock knock. Wang Xiangdong rapped lightly on the door, announcing, Captain, it is Wang Xiangdong. Come in, came the reply. As Wang Xiangdong pushed the door open and stepped inside, an unsettling sensation gripped his heart. The atmosphere was decidedly off-kilter. Within the office, aside from Zhou Jun was seated behind the desk, stood two Marine soldiers. Wang Xiangdong glanced back and noticed two soldiers stationed at the entrance. Before he could utter a word, Lin's gaze, sharp as that of a hawk, pierced through the air as he slowly uttered, Major General Wang Xiangdong, or should I refer to you as Mr. Mole? The term mole struck Wang Xiangdong's mind like a thunderclap, reverberating ominously. His complexion paled instantaneously, yet years of training as an operative compelled him to feign composure. Captain Zhou, what are you talking about? What mole? I do not comprehend. Zhou Jingguo's expression darkened, having lost all patience, and with a cold demeanor. He waved his hand toward the soldiers at the door, commanding, "Take him away." No sooner had he spoken than the two burly Marines advanced, each seizing one of Wang Xiangdong's arms. A chilling snap echoed as handcuffs secured his wrists. Wang Xiangdong's face turned ashen, and in that moment, all pretense and hope crumbled. He felt utterly bewildered, his mind a blank slate. How could this happen? How had he been exposed? He hadn't even had the chance to act. He hadn't even touched the dock's entrance, yet here he was, laid bare. He had spent 20 years in concealment, enduring countless trials to reach this point. He was confident in the seamlessness of his disguise. What had gone awry? In an instant, a plethora of thoughts surged through Wang Xiangdong's mind, leaving him utterly confounded. At 2 a.m, the night had deepened. Chun Bei stifled a yawn, still awake. At that moment, he was seated before his computer, observing a room within the base through the lens of a game. The screen depicted Wang Xiangdong secured to an interrogation chair, his face haggard, yet his resolve unyielding. The interrogation had persisted for several hours. Regardless of the interrogator's relentless questioning, he adamantly maintained his innocence, refusing to acknowledge his identity as the mole. Let us see how long this fellow can endure, Chun Bei muttered to himself. Just then, the door to the interrogation room swung open. A soldier entered, bearing a file folder, which he handed to Zhou Jinghua. Zhou Jinghua extracted a document from the folder, swiftly scanning it, a frigid smile gracing his lips. Chen Bai, Toll, smiled, for the contents of the document were simultaneously displayed on the game interface. Wang Xiangdong, Zhou Jinghua began, let's discuss your wife. Your sister, Ms. Li, has already immigrated to Australia and purchased a seaside villa in Sydney last year for a staggering $3 million Australian dollars, having paid in full. Upon investigation, we discovered that the source of her funds is an offshore company registered in the Cayman Islands. Curiously, the actual controller of this company happens to be a senior executive from the operations department. Wang Xiangdong remained silent, appearing unfazed. It seemed this information was insufficient to rattle him. Zhou Zhenghua's expression remained inscrutable as he continued. Let us now discuss your son, Wang Fan. Wang Xiangdong's eyelids flickered slightly. This subtle gesture did not escape Zhou Zhenghua's keen observation. Unperturbed, Zhou Zhenghua elaborated, Wang Fan, now 20 years of age, is currently a sophomore at the Naval Engineering University, correct? The change in Wang Xiangdong's gaze was palpable. Your son is quite different from you. He is exceptional, having aspired to serve in the Navy and dedicate himself to his country from a young age. At the military academy, Wang Fan consistently excels, standing out among his peers, and everyone holds high hopes for his future. As Zhou Zhenghua spoke, he scrutinized Wang Xiangdong's expression. I find it hard to imagine. Zhou Zhenghua's tone shifted sharply. What would Wang Fan think if he were to discover that his father, whom he has always admired and regarded as his role model, is actually a traitor to the nation's interests? What would become of his military career, his life? This statement struck like the final straw, completely shattering Wang Xiangdong's steadfast mental defenses. His tense body seemed to lose all strength, collapsing in an instant. After a long pause, Wang Xiangdong raised his head, his eyes bloodshot, and hoarsely requested, could I have a cigarette? Zhou Zhenghua retrieved a pack from his pocket, handed him one, and lit it for him. Wang Xiangdong took a deep drag, choking as he coughed. Enveloped in the swirling smoke, he appeared to age a decade. I have but one request. He gazed at Zhou Zhenghua. Never tell my son about my affairs. Zhou Zhenghua regarded him, silent for a moment, then nodded in acquiescence. Very well. Thank you. Wang Xiangdong extinguished the cigarette's tip and began to speak slowly. I knew this day would eventually come. For 20 years, I've been haunted by nightmares every night, dreaming of this moment. He inhaled deeply, as if preparing mentally for what he was about to divulge. Then, with a newfound tranquility that resembled liberation, he looked at Zhou Zhenghua and began recounting the hidden identity he had concealed for 2 decades, revealing the deeply buried secrets of how he had gradually descended into betrayal. In the rented room, Chun Bei listened intently. The process of Wang Xiangdong's recruitment was far less dramatic than depicted in spy films. There were no seductive temptations nor coercive threats. It was merely driven by academic ambition and an insatiable greed for wealth. A genius has thus fallen into the depths of treachery against his nation. Chun Bei could not help but ponder if he were in the same position. Faced with years of insidious infiltration and temptation, would he withstand such pressures? The answer remained uncertain. He might endure, or he might falter. This fleeting thought deepened Chun Bei's gratitude for maintaining an extreme level of caution, having never revealed even a whisper of the game to anyone. The ensuing interrogation was filled with tedious inquiries regarding intelligence networks and communication methods, which failed to capture his interest further. He switched off the game and retired to bed. Chapter 58. The Pentagon's frustrated fury in the interrogation room. Wang Xiangdong divulged everything he knew about his single-line contacts, secret rendezvous points, encrypted communication methods, and several other individuals he was aware of who were infiltrated within the military-industrial complex. As Wang Xiangdong spoke, a series of lists, addresses, and contact details meticulously compiled from his statements were swiftly transmitted through the highest level of encrypted channels to a classified, undisclosed department in the capital. By 3 in the morning, a thunderous operation, codenamed Heaven's Net, was launched simultaneously across several cities under the cover of night. In the capital, within a high-end residential community in Xiqing, at 3:30, several black government vehicles silently glided into the underground garage. From the vehicles emerged 7 or 8 men in plain clothes. Their expressions stern. They moved swiftly, taking the elevator to the door of room 2101 in Building 17. One of them produced a specialized electronic device and manipulated the door lock for a moment, after which the smart lock emitted a soft beep and opened obediently. Inside the bedroom, Li Chunsheng, the deputy chief engineer of a leading domestic aerospace materials research institute, was deeply immersed in slumber. Suddenly, the bedside lamp illuminated, piercing through his dreams and forcing him awake. In the next moment, Li Chunsheng was horrified to find several unfamiliar men standing at the foot of his bed. "Who are you?" Li Chunsheng. The lead man spoke in a voice that was not loud, yet carried an undeniable authority. He revealed a red badge. "We are from the Ministry of State Security. We need your cooperation for an investigation. Please come with us." Li Chunsheng, upon seeing the arrest warrant in the man's hand, turned pale, his lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. He understood that everything had come to an end. Simultaneously in Shun City, within the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel on the Bund, a man claiming to be a Belgian diamond merchant, Mr. Pierre, was embracing a blonde woman, savoring fine wine and the night view. He had just reported his recent business achievements to his superior via satellite phone. Knock, knock, knock. A sudden, urgent rapping at the door interrupted his enjoyment. "Who is it? Don't you know what time it is?" Pierre yelled impatiently. However, the response he received was a resounding crash as the heavy door was forcibly breached. A contingent of officers clad in tactical gear stormed in like ferocious tigers, their ominous weapons instantly aimed at him. "Don't move. Police." The smile on Pierre's face froze, and he instinctively reached for the handgun concealed beneath his pillow, only to find a cold handcuff locking his wrist. He was roughly pressed to the ground, watching in dismay as one of the officers bagged his expensive satellite phone as evidence. A flicker of panic crossed his eyes. As daylight gradually emerged, the operation continued unabated. At 10 o'clock in the morning, within the campus of a university in a southern coastal city, a charming and well-liked economics professor was eloquently referencing various sources while analyzing international trade relations. Suddenly, the back door of the classroom swung open, and 2 uniformed men entered, striding directly towards the podium. "Pardon the interruption." One of them politely acknowledged the hundreds of students before turning to the professor. "Professor Wu Zhenhua, you are suspected of colluding with foreign forces and are hereby placed under lawful arrest. Please accompany us." Under the astonished gaze of the students, the usually composed scholar's face turned as pale as a sheet, his legs buckled, and he collapsed beside the podium. The identity he had concealed for over a decade was, in that moment, utterly shattered. At 11 o'clock, on Chongming Island in Shanghai, atop a high-rise apartment building, an individual claiming to be a Douyin content creator was leaning over the balcony, transmitting a routine report concerning the Jiangnan shipyard via a communication device equipped with intricate encryption modules. Just as he was about to stow away the equipment, a loud crash reverberated as the door was forcefully breached by special police with a battering ram. Several officers rushed in. "Don't move. Raise your hands." The blogger's face reflected sheer terror as he attempted to lunge for the communication device, but 2 fully armed officers swiftly intercepted him, delivering a precise knee strike to his ribs. Amidst the agonized grunts, he was forcefully pinned to the balcony floor. From the deep of night until noon the following day, guided by the clues provided by Wang Xiangdong, a vast net was rapidly tightened across the nation. Over 100 spies and peripheral personnel concealed within the country were accurately apprehended, including both foreigners and those who had been subverted from within the Dragon Nation. A spy network that had operated in the Dragon Nation for decades suffered a catastrophic blow overnight. In Washington, D.C., at the Pentagon, the sky had just darkened. In the smoke-filled office of Isaac Nolan, the deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the air was thick with tension. The newly appointed deputy had been working continuously for over 72 hours, his eye sockets deeply sunken and bloodshot, the heavy bag beneath his eyes rendering him utterly haggard. The coffee on the desk had gone cold, yet he remained oblivious to it. The computer screen before him was filled with analytical reports concerning the Dragon Nation's Coast Guard's Third Fleet and other related matters. Isaac Nolan rubbed his temples, contemplating the possibility of leaving work early to finally enjoy a restful night's sleep. At that moment, the red encrypted telephone in the office emitted a piercing ring. Nolan's heart sank, engulfed by a sense of foreboding. He picked up the receiver. The director was in trouble. We have lost contact with the mole. What? Nolan sprang to his feet. They had lost contact with the mole. Instantly, a pallor of dread washed over Nolan's face. Soon, several senior intelligence officers responsible for Asian affairs were summoned into the office. Damn! 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 Nolan roared like an enraged lion within the confines of the office. The mole has been compromised. Who can tell me why? He was just activated. How could he be exposed? What on earth are you incompetent fools doing? The intelligence officers fell silent, each one too afraid to speak. Before Nolan's fury could subside, more dreadful news came pouring in like an avalanche. Report. The Shanghai station has gone dark. Report. The safe house in the capital has been breached. 3 agents have been captured. Report. Our insider at the Jiangnan shipyard has been confirmed captured. One piece of grim news after another struck Nolan's chest like a relentless hammer. It was over, utterly over. Nolan understood that his career was doomed. Such a colossal intelligence disaster could obliterate anyone's political life. Just then, a secretary knocked and entered, cautiously relaying, "Sir, General Dunwoody requests your immediate presence in his office." Nolan's heart plummeted. Having barely been in office for 2 weeks as the deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, he was already facing the loss of his position. He adjusted his disheveled tie, took a deep breath, and steeled himself as he stepped out of the office. Chapter 59. With power comes the courage to wield the sword. The capture of Wang Xiangdong stirred not a ripple within the Sanya base. Aside from a handful of senior generals, most were unaware that such a top-tier expert had even been present. Everyone at the base continued with their duties as usual. In the afternoon, a coordination meeting for an exercise, personally organized by General Zhao Weidong, was underway in the base command center. This marked the 12th specialized meeting regarding Exercise 810. According to the latest intelligence, the USS Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group departed Yokosuka this morning and is moving towards Philippine waters. It is expected to rendezvous with the Philippine Navy in 5 days to commence the first phase of joint exercises. An operations officer was reporting on the latest developments of the U.S.-Philippine military drill. Chun Bei sat at his computer, attentively listening to the meeting. Top, top, top. Chun Bei's fingers unconsciously drummed on the table as he pondered the situation. It was time to address that decrepit vessel occupying the Renai Reef. This joint exercise, in essence, served as the Americans' attempt to salvage face after the Philippines' previous humiliating defeats, providing support and encouragement. One must make it unequivocally clear to the Filipino adversaries that, despite the backing of their American benefactor, they remain vulnerable to confrontation. The Third Fleet has significantly bolstered its capabilities, now comprising 2 Type 055 destroyers, 2 Type 052 destroyers, and 6 additional vessels ready for deployment. In the air, 12 aircraft stand poised for action. This does not account for the Southern Fleet and the entire Southern Theater's forces that can be mobilized. The strength of the Third Fleet alone is sufficient to engage the Seventh Fleet in a show of force within the waters surrounding the Renai Reef. If I dare confront your American patron, I will certainly not hesitate to challenge you, a mere puppet. Thus, the moment to address the stranded warship has arrived. Chun Bei has already devised 2 potential strategies. The first option is rather aggressive, utilizing the occasion of the Changjing exercise. One could fabricate a pretext of a missile misfire or a target vessel malfunction, resulting in the direct sinking of the ship. However, this would equate to an outright act of aggression against a vessel that, while dilapidated, is still officially classified as active duty. More critically, there are 9 Filipino Marines stationed aboard. Any casualties would escalate the situation dramatically. Therefore, this plan is overly audacious, leaving Chun Bei hesitant about its execution. The second option is more measured. The initial step involves completely severing all supplies to the vessel, compelling the personnel aboard to evacuate due to lack of water and food. Once the crew departs, the derelict ship transforms into mere scrap metal. At that point, myriad legitimate justifications for its disposal can be employed, such as citing efforts to clear maritime debris and prevent navigational pollution. Comparatively, this strategy appears far more prudent. Chun Bei resolved to adopt this more cautious approach. Until the aircraft carrier strike group is within his grasp, prudence is paramount. Once I command my own carrier battle group, I shall no longer be constrained. After glancing at the game interface, he noted that his technology points had reached 55, indicating the imminent unlocking of advanced technology. Thus, the second plan was set in motion. Intelligence indicated that the next resupply for the stranded warship would occur tomorrow. Over the past years, in a gesture of humanitarianism, we have monitored the Filipino resupply operations, but have never truly impeded them. Starting today, this precedent will be shattered. Intelligence, Chun Bei commanded, intercept the Filipino naval supply. From this moment forward, no supply shall be permitted to reach the BRP Sierra Madre, not even a drop of water or a grain of rice. Understood, Commander. The intelligence officer promptly replied. In the conference room, a dozen officers were engaged in discussions regarding the exercise's particulars. At that moment, a tactical tablet before Zhou Zhenghua vibrated. Upon glancing down, his eyes sharpened with intensity. In the next instant, Zhou Zhenghua raised his hand, interrupting the remarks of the operations minister. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. Zhou Zhenghua's voice, though not loud, immediately captivated everyone's attention as 001 had just conveyed new directives. In the conference room, a dozen senior generals, including General Zhao Weidong, became instantly alert, their gazes fixed upon the main screen. In the next moment, a line of text appeared at the center of the display. Notice, effective immediately. The waters surrounding Renai Reef are to be comprehensively blockaded, severing all material supplies to the Philippine landing ship, the BRP Sierra Madre. General Zhao Weidong scrutinized the content of the notice, and his eyes gradually sparkled with understanding. Cutting off supplies to the Sierra Madre had long been overdue. In fact, the naval staff had already devised various contingency plans regarding the dilapidated vessel that had been anchored at Renai Reef. The most straightforward and effective strategy was to cut off its supplies, compelling its withdrawal. However, due to a myriad of complex international relations and considerations for maintaining stability, the higher-ups had hesitated to implement this course of action. Does anyone have any objections? Zhou Zhenghua inquired, scanning the room. I concur. This should have been done long ago, declared a bespectacled major general in support. Agreed. This thorn should have been removed ages ago. This is the most fundamental solution. I fully endorse it. In the conference room, the commanders unanimously expressed their support, with not a single dissenting voice. Each of them had long harbored the desire to take such action. Indeed, several had previously suggested similar plans to their superiors in various contexts. Now, 001 had brought it forth, not as a mere proposal seeking opinions, but as an unequivocal directive. This signified that a decision must be made at this very moment. All eyes eventually converged upon General Zhao Weidong. After a brief silence, he gazed at the command on the screen and slowly uttered two words, agreed. Perhaps influenced by 001, or perhaps emboldened by advanced equipment, such as the 055, 052, and 20, the military leadership had indeed adopted an increasingly decisive and assertive decision-making style in recent times. Soon, Zhao Weidong reported the resolution of the meeting along with 001's directive to the highest command. Within half an hour, the approval was received, agreed. In his rented accommodation, Chun Bei also received the notification of the military's complete agreement and full cooperation, allowing a satisfied smile to spread across his face. This is a time of change. Now that strength has increased, many actions that were previously deemed impossible or too daunting can now be undertaken. As a popular saying among military enthusiasts goes, possessing power necessitates the courage to draw the sword. Chapter 60. Interception of Philippine supply transport, however, merely severing the supplies to a decrepit vessel did not, in Chun Bei's view, constitute a true display of strength. The moment he truly awaited for a decisive act would only arrive once the game system unlocked Level 2 technology. At that moment, the time had finally ripened. The calendar turned a page. The following day, in the morning, the sun shone brilliantly in the waters surrounding Renai Reef. The waves sparkled in a vast expanse of azure. Two Type 055 guided missile destroyers, akin to two celestial deities of the sea, quietly anchored near the reef, their massive hulls gleaming under the sunlight. Surrounding them were two 3,000-ton patrol vessels, cruising gracefully. Upon closer inspection, the hull numbers of the patrol vessels were identified as Fishery Administration 005 and Fishery Administration 006, both newly upgraded and refurbished. Thus, the Third Fleet's contingent of patrol vessels had reached a total of 6. With the rotation of these 6 vessels, it would be ensured that at least 2 would be perpetually patrolling the Renai Reef every day of the year. Commander, an intelligent voice chimed in. A Philippine vessel has been detected, a small patrol boat situated 20 nautical miles from our position. Have they arrived? Chun Bei immediately straightened in his seat. On the game map, a red dot representing the Philippine patrol boat, hull number 4409, was slowly approaching Renai Reef. The 4409 patrol boat, with a mere displacement of 300 tons, carried only 6 individuals in total, including the captain and crew. Their mission was to deliver the regular supplies for this month, primarily fresh water, food, and medicine, to the grounded vessel. The Madres Mountain. Lieutenant Jose, the captain, raised his binoculars, peering out towards the distant horizon. As the two white silhouettes, reminiscent of mountains, gradually became clear in his sight, an involuntary shiver coursed through him. It's fine, Jose reassured himself inwardly. As per customary practice, while the Dragon Country monitors our movements, they have never truly obstructed our supply deliveries. The distance between them continued to diminish. Other crew members emerged from the cabin, curiously gazing at the two colossal vessels they had only ever seen on the news. The visceral experience was far more overwhelming than witnessing it through a screen. Suddenly, a voice crackled over the patrol boat's radio, broadcasting in standard English. Attention, Philippine vessel. This is the Dragon Country Coast Guard. You are about to enter our controlled waters. Please leave immediately. Alarm surged within Captain Jose as he heard the announcement. The Dragon Country was poised to intervene. The patrol boat immediately reduced speed, coming to a halt on the water's surface. What should we do? It was impossible to simply barge through, not to mention the two 10,000-ton behemoths. Even the nearby 2,3,000-ton patrol vessels had inflicted considerable distress on the Philippine Coast Guard with their high-pressure water cannons and aggressive tactics during previous confrontations. Their small boat was hardly a match. What should we do, Captain? The second officer asked anxiously. Captain Jose grasped the radio, steeling himself to communicate with the Dragon Country, explaining that they were delivering routine supplies for the Madres Mountain. However, the response over the broadcast remained a chilling warning and command to disperse. The situation had become utterly dire. Captain Jose was compelled to immediately report the circumstances to the command center in Manila. After a prolonged wait of half an hour, he finally received the directive from Manila to remain in position and refrain from any rash actions. Thus, Patrol Vessel 4409 found itself isolated, anchored several nautical miles from Renai Reef, caught in a dilemma. Chun Bei, too, was in a state of anticipation. He understood that the Philippine forces would not relent so easily. He awaited their next move. This wait extended until noon. Chun Bei ordered a meal and leisurely finished it. Yet there was still no sign of activity from the Philippine side. Just as he was about to inquire about the latest intelligence, a report arrived. Commander, there are new movements from the Philippine side, the intelligence system reported. 3 naval ships, accompanied by 8 Coast Guard patrol boats, had departed from Manila port an hour earlier and were rapidly heading towards Renai Reef, expected to arrive around 3 in the afternoon. 3 naval ships? Chun Bei immediately pulled up the detailed information. Leading the formation was the 4,000-ton Gabriela Silang, accompanied by the only 2 Del Pilar-class frigates of the Philippine Navy. They were laying their cards on the table. Excellent. This was indicative of their unwavering resolve to breach the defenses. Chun Bei relished their tenacity, for it represented a bounty of points and gold. Checking the time, it was now 12:10 p.m., leaving approximately 3 hours until the enemy's arrival. There was still time. Call me at 2:30, he instructed the intelligence system, then reclined on his bed, preparing for a brief nap. In the afternoon, the sun blazed down, casting a golden shimmer over the sea. Regrettably, amidst this picturesque setting, no one had the heart to appreciate its beauty. The surface of the water was tense. The fleets from both sides were locked in a standoff, separated by less than 2 nautical miles. A piercing horn shattered the tranquility of the sea. The Philippine forces began to mobilize. The 8 Coast Guard patrol boats, akin to sharks sensing blood, fanned out in a sweeping formation, accelerating towards our defensive line. Awaiting them were 6 powerful jets of water erupting from the fishery enforcement vessel. Inside his rented accommodation, Chun Bei twisted open a chilled cola, savoring a large sip as he leisurely observed the unfolding drama on the screen. Within mere minutes, the foremost Philippine patrol boat, under the relentless assault of high-pressure water jets, had its cockpit glass shattered, taking on water and belching black smoke as it lost power. After another 10 minutes, another patrol boat attempting a flanking maneuver met a disastrous collision with our fishery enforcement vessel 005, sustaining a massive gash along its side and also succumbing to the sea. Indeed, they were proving to be utterly defenseless. An hour later, this lopsided confrontation concluded with yet another devastating defeat for the Filipino side. Of the 8 patrol boats, half lay incapacitated on the water's surface, while the remaining vessels, battered and bruised, hastily fled the scene. Trash! Chun Bei scoffed at the screen. At that moment, a notification appeared. Mission completed. Successfully intercepted the Filipino supply fleet. Rewards: 1 technology point, 3,000 gold. Current technology points: 56,100. Current gold: 55,600. The rewards are in hand. Thank you, my friends. You have truly outdone yourselves. Chun Bei, in high spirits, resolved to intensify his taunting. Chapter 61. Thus they are but trash. Chun Bei set down his soda, a mischievous grin spreading across his face, and hailed the Filipino fleet, declaring, "You are utterly pathetic. With such meager strength, how dare you provoke us? I suggest you prepare a few more white flags next time." Instructed to proceed, the AI promptly executed the command. Soon, this scornful broadcast resonated through the radio waves to the flagship Gabriela Silang of the Filipino fleet. Inside the flagship's command room, Captain Martinez's face turned crimson, veins bulging. In a fit of rage, he seized the intercom, nearly hurling it to the ground. Yet reason reminded him that such outbursts would resolve nothing. Damn those Dragon Country scoundrels. Martinez seethed, pounding his fist heavily on the command platform. But that was not the end of it. Chun Bei further commanded the AI to edit the recently concluded one-sided confrontation video, complete with soundtracks, and post it on mainstream social media platforms in the Philippines. Minutes later, a 5-minute-long high-definition video was released. The video commenced with the Filipino patrol boats charging forth, accompanied by a tense, pulsating drumbeat. Then, as the scene shifted, the high-pressure water cannons of the Dragon Country's fisheries enforcement vessel surged forth like a furious dragon unleashed, utterly unstoppable. The entire video was edited with remarkable professionalism, featuring slow-motion shots, close-ups, and aerial perspectives. Notably, scenes of the Filipino patrol boats having their glass shattered and taking on water were replayed multiple times. Ultimately, the video concluded with images of the Filipino vessels fleeing in disarray, underscored by a poignant musical score that created a striking contrast. The video title was a resounding slap in the face: disparity of power. The Filipino Coast Guard's provocation ends in catastrophe against the Dragon Country's fisheries enforcement vessel. Within an hour, this video ignited a firestorm across Philippine social media. After viewing the footage, netizens were incredulous. Their once proud Coast Guard forces had been so easily vanquished before the might of the Dragon Country. Is this our Navy? What a disgrace. What is the government doing? Why are our resources so outdated? Marcos must provide an explanation. The naval commander should resign in shame. Countless Filipino citizens flocked to the government's official website and the naval social media accounts, unleashing a torrent of vitriol against the incompetence of both the government and the military. Even radical netizens organized protests, demanding immediate action from the government to restore the nation's dignity. Concurrently, international media began to take notice of the incident, with prominent outlets like Reuters circulating videos and publishing analytical reports. In an instant, the Philippine government's position became exceedingly precarious. This was precisely Chun Bei's intention, to fabricate public sentiment and place the Philippine government in a crucible of scrutiny. Consequently, even if they wished to retreat or quell the situation, they would be compelled to heed the surging domestic discontent. The enraged populace would not permit the government to show weakness at such a critical juncture. What they sought was dignity, retaliation, and victory. Moreover, even in the absence of popular sentiment, their American benefactor would undoubtedly pressure them to persist in their provocations. In the context of the U.S. strategy in the Asia-Pacific, the role of the Philippines as a pawn is to continuously create trouble for the Dragon Country. What Chun Bei was doing was merely adding fuel to the fire, rendering the spectacle even more dramatic and ensnaring the Philippine government deeper into the mire. As anticipated, in the evening, as darkness fell, the undeterred Filipino forces, emboldened by the cover of night, once again organized a fleet to mount an assault. They believed that the night would serve as their shield. Indeed, the cover of darkness provided considerable protection. However, our side had already made preparations. Early that morning, 2 additional fishery patrol vessels, dispatched from Sanyo Base, had arrived in the Renai Reef area by evening. At that moment, 6 fishery patrol vessels, each weighing 3,000 tons, were stationed under the command of 2 10,000-ton 055 class destroyers, forming an impenetrable maritime barrier that completely sealed off the entrance to Renai Reef. No matter how hard the Filipino forces exerted themselves, they could not hope to breach even a fraction of it. This nocturnal confrontation persisted from 8 o'clock in the evening until 11 at night, culminating once again in a devastating defeat for the Filipino side. When the sun once more cast its light upon this tumultuous sea, the same scenario unfolded the following morning. Water cannons blared, vessels collided, whitecaps churned on the surface, and engines roared. In his rented room, Chun Bei watched the captivating scenes unfold on the screen, rhythmically tapping his fingers on the table. He was plotting again. While enjoying the spectacle, he contemplated. Playing this cat-and-mouse game indefinitely lacked excitement. Perhaps it was time to elevate the stakes. For instance, should they seize one of their patrol boats? The mere thought materialized swiftly in Chun Bei's mind. Capturing a vessel would not only significantly crush the Filipino morale, but also allow for a lucrative ransom. The 36 Filipino fishermen previously detained had already been relocated to Haikou. The second round of negotiations held last week in Singapore ended in discord. A ransom of 1 billion per fisherman seemed reasonable. Therefore, asking for 15 billion for a naval soldier was quite justifiable, was it not? Thus, the plan was set in motion. Chun Bei immediately issued instructions to the intelligence unit. Within the command center of Coast Guard Ship 001, the newly appointed Captain Colonel Su Feng and several corps commanders perused the latest directives from 001 on the tactical display. Their spirits instantly invigorated. Seizing a patrol boat, a gleam of excitement appeared on the face of one vice captain. Indeed, it is 001, exuding a commanding presence. Without hesitation, Colonel Su Feng grasped the communicator and issued the order. Command Fishing Administration 003 and 004 to encircle the target, the Philippine patrol boat 4402, compelling it to halt and take control, detaining the Filipino crew on board. On the water, the 4402, entangled with our fishing administration vessel, swiftly lost power and steering under the assault of 2 water cannons, left to spin helplessly on the waves. Soon after, a fishing administration vessel approached slowly. As a dozen Marines clad in camouflage combat attire, brandishing clubs and axes, utilized ropes to board the deck of 4402. Upon witnessing this, several Filipino crew members attempted to resist. One particularly tall individual even brandished an old 16 rifle from the cabin, aiming it at the boarding Marines. Did he think a firearm could ensure his defiance? The bow of Fishing Administration 003 had long been fixed on him with a 127mm heavy machine gun. Should any Filipino crew member dare to make a move, they would find themselves riddled with bullets in an instant. Drop the weapon. Stand down, commanded the leading Marine sergeant, brandishing a firefighting axe, fearlessly stepping forward toward the gunpoint. The chilling aura shattered the psychological defenses of the armed individual, who ultimately chose to surrender, tossing the rifle onto the deck. All 8 crew members aboard 4402 were apprehended, none daring to resist further. Meanwhile, the other nearby Filipino vessels could only watch helplessly, none daring to intervene. Thus, Chun Bei consistently deemed them trash. Chapter 62. The entire might of the U.S. 7th Fleet arrives in the lexicon of Dragon Kingdom soldiers. Surrender is an alien concept. Conversely, the Filipino monkeys would rather capitulate than resist. With such scant spirit, they willingly serve as dogs for the Americans. Excellent. Splendid. Chun Bei applauded with enthusiasm. The trash of the Filipino monkeys is commonplace, nothing worthy of admiration. From a Marine holding the firefighting axe, Chun Bei perceived the indomitable spirit of our Dragon Kingdom soldiers. The Filipinos ought to be grateful that our soldiers wielded firefighting axes. Simultaneously, this captivating scene must be captured. The video would be shared online, allowing netizens and military enthusiasts across the nation to revel together. Soon, the video was uploaded to domestic networks, causing a frenzy on major social media platforms in the Dragon Kingdom. The topic of the Coast Guard's seizure of the Filipino patrol boat surged to the top of Weibo's trending list, amassing over 500,000 views within just half an hour. Incredible. This is utterly exhilarating. Upon witnessing the Filipino soldier brandish a firearm, I felt a pang of concern. However, our valiant warriors charged forth wielding axes with unwavering resolve. This exemplifies the indomitable spirit of the Dragon Nation's military. To my amusement, the Filipino soldier quivered in fear, discarding his weapon, bringing disgrace upon himself on an international scale. My comrades, I have already shared this video with my classmates in America, allowing them a glimpse of what true military valor embodies. Prominent military forums are abuzz with activity, with the post on the Iron Blood Military Network garnering over 10,000 replies as netizens meticulously analyze the tactical nuances of this operation. Observe the positioning of the 127mm heavy machine gun. The angle of fire coverage was impeccable, leaving the Filipino forces with no opportunity for resistance. Truly magnificent. Standing resolute in the face of gunfire epitomizes the grit of our Dragon Nation soldiers. I propose that we engage in more such operations in the future, instilling a lasting lesson in the Filipino forces. Even those who typically eschew military affairs have been stirred to fervor after watching the video. As a student of the humanities, I too am filled with patriotic zeal. Our soldiers are exceptional. The Filipino forces are indeed spineless. How dare they provoke us in the South China Sea? I support the maritime police. Detain and apprehend as necessary. We must not allow these buffoons to wreak havoc at our doorstep. Within mere hours, the video's view count soared past 10 million. As the sun dipped toward the west, golden rays filtered through the curtains into the room. Chun Bei awoke from a brief slumber of half an hour, and upon opening his phone, he encountered several notifications regarding the Philippines. The news depicted thousands of Filipino citizens brandishing flags and protest placards, congregating in the streets of Manila for a large-scale demonstration, expressing their discontent with the government's and Navy's incompetence. Chun Bay smiled. Public opinion was indeed having an effect. The consecutive humiliating defeats, first fishermen being detained, now soldiers captured, have ignited a firestorm of outrage among the Filipino populace. Consequently, propelled by this surging tide of public sentiment, the Filipino government, in a bid to preserve its authority, has no choice but to adopt a more hardline stance, leaving them with no option but to escalate their defiance. This, precisely, aligns with Chun Bay's objective. He requires the Filipino forces to remain disruptive. Without their provocations, where would the rewards from missions arise? Without their antics, what justification would there be to systematically address them? In the ensuing 2 days, as Chun Bay anticipated, the Filipino side descended into a near-manic frenzy. In one particularly frenzied instance, they organized dozens of civilian fishing vessels, attempting to breach our blockade under the aegis of their Coast Guard, employing a human wave tactic to deliver supplies to the vessel named Mount Madre. Yet, as previously stated, in the face of absolute power, all tricks are in vain. The waters around Renai Reef were shrouded in ominous clouds, heralding an impending storm. After hours of intense confrontation, the Filipino fleet was once again forced to retreat in disarray. The sea was left littered with several incapacitated patrol boats, floating debris, and the utterly shattered dignity of the Filipino forces. Utter garbage. You are truly despicable. In the rental house, Chun Beifei was in disarray, laughing heartily. What brought him even greater joy was the reward notification that popped up on the game interface. Daily task completed. Successfully intercepted the Philippine supply fleet. Reward: 1 technology point. 3,000 gold coins. Current technology points: 62,100. Current gold coins: 67,600. Over the past few days, each successful interception of the Philippine supply shipments had yielded rewards. The steady increase of technology points and gold coins was truly exhilarating. Chun Beifei could hardly wish for the Philippine forces to appear daily. Unfortunately, in the ensuing days leading up to August 10th, the waters of Renai Reef remained tranquil, devoid of any Philippine presence. It seemed they had finally realized that, relying solely on their own strength, it was impossible to break through our blockade. Or perhaps they were concocting a new strategy. Indeed, intelligence soon confirmed Chun Beifei's speculations. According to intercepted information, the Philippine side planned to launch a supply operation on August 10th, coinciding with the commencement of the joint military exercises between the United States and the Philippines, leveraging American support. Excellent. Chun Beifei smirked at this intelligence, a hint of derision gracing his lips. It was not that he underestimated them. The Philippine forces were indeed fragile. Philippine forces, a promise made. I hope you follow through and do not falter when the time comes. The calendar turned to August 10th. In the waters of Renai Reef, the sky was high and the clouds sparse. On the surface of the sea, 2 Type 055 destroyers, Haijian 001 and Haijian 002, stood at the center of formation. Flanking them were 2 Type 052 destroyers, Haijian 101 and Haijian 102. At the forefront of the formation, 4 Type 054 frigates, like 4 loyal guardians, cleaved through the waves. 8 warships, arrayed in a combat formation, spanned several kilometers of the sea, exuding an imposing presence, their aura fierce. 30 nautical miles away, a formidable fleet was also in sight. The USS Ronald Reagan, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, resembled a mobile city at sea, forming the core of the entire fleet. Surrounding it, like stars encircling the moon, were Ticonderoga-class cruisers and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, among other key vessels. This was the main force of the United States Navy's 7th Fleet. To bolster the Philippines, the 7th Fleet had nearly deployed its entire strength. In stark contrast to the formidable might of the American fleet, a Philippine Del Pilar-class patrol vessel appeared rather inconspicuous. Captain Carlos Mendez stood on the deck, his face flushed with excitement. How formidable! The American forces are truly powerful. With the support of the 7th Fleet, Captain Mendez felt an unprecedented sense of confidence. This time, it would be the people of the Dragon Kingdom who would tremble. It was no wonder that Carlos Mendez was brimming with self-assurance. The 7th Fleet is indeed one of the most powerful maritime forces on this planet. Chapter 63. A clash of electromagnetic forces over the South China Sea had it been merely a month prior. The naval forces of the Dragon Kingdom would have required the mobilization of all 3 fleets to contend with the might of the 7th Fleet. However, the current circumstances are strikingly different. The 3rd Division, comprising 4 warships, along with 4 naval frigates, now presents a formidable arsenal. Notably, the 2 Type 055 destroyers, capable of launching a simultaneous barrage of 224 missiles, pose a significant threat to the 7th Fleet. Furthermore, these Type 055 vessels are equipped with 160 YJ-21 anti-ship missiles, which serve as a veritable trump card. Indeed, the mere presence of the YJ-21 missiles empowers a single Type 055 to challenge an entire aircraft carrier group, fundamentally altering the dynamics of naval warfare. Moreover, Chun Bei has discerned the hollow strength of the Americans. They are ill-prepared for a full confrontation with the Dragon Kingdom. And today's so-called joint military exercise is nothing more than a fade, a political display intended to project power. Therefore, it is prudent to instigate some action. Chun Bei glanced at the time. There remained half an hour until the scheduled commencement of the exercise. Have all preparations for the exercise been completed? He inquired of the intelligence unit. Report to the commander. All units for the changing exercise are fully prepared and ready to commence at any moment. Let us proceed ahead of schedule, Chun Bei decisively commanded, instructing the exercise directorate to implement Plan 1 immediately. Understood, Commander. Within the operational command center aboard the flagship Haijian 001, General Zhao Weidong, the chief director, was engaged with Commander Zhou Zhenghua and several other officers, meticulously rehearsing every detail of the exercise against the naval charts. At that moment, a notification appeared on the main screen from the 001. An early commencement? Zhao Weidong was not surprised. The 001 had never adhered to conventional protocols. He picked up a communicator and declared, "This is Zhao Weidong. I hereby order the changing exercise to commence half an hour early. Execute Plan 1, and let us extend a greeting to our American counterparts." Received, the communications officer shouted. Issuing commands. Haijian 001, proceed with electromagnetic suppression on the target. Haijian 002, execute electromagnetic suppression on the target. The directives swiftly reached the operational units of the two warships. Simultaneously, within the operational command center of the 7th Fleet's flagship, the USS Ronald Reagan, Commander Scott Beck was analyzing the formation of the Dragon Kingdom's exercise fleet with his staff. Suddenly, the massive tactical display screen emitted a piercing alarm, followed by a cascade of static and meaningless gibberish. Not only the main screen, but every radar display, communication system, and data link terminal within the command center was simultaneously engulfed by severe electromagnetic interference. Report. We are experiencing intense electromagnetic interference. Our radar systems have failed. Report. The data link has been severed. We are unable to establish communication with other vessels in the formation. Report. The entire fleet's communication system was besieged by intense electromagnetic interference. The cacophony of urgent reports instantly threw the command center into chaos. Damn it. General Scott Beck cursed, his face ashen. The Dragon Kingdom had audaciously struck first. Order the electronic warfare unit to counterattack immediately. The command from the flagship transformed into a series of disjointed noises on the bridge of the Stratton destroyer. Engage electronic countermeasures. Damn it. The communication system is suppressed. The communications officer exclaimed anxiously. I can't hear anything clearly. Activate the backup communication channel. Engage maximum power, anti-jamming mode. The captain bellowed. After a tense 15 seconds, the communication system barely restored intermittent contact, allowing them to discern the flagship's counterattack orders. Receiving the command, an invisible electromagnetic battle quietly erupted in the skies over the South China Sea. Countless electromagnetic waves, imbued with intricate algorithms and immense power, clashed fiercely, colliding and exerting mutual suppression. In a rental room, Chun Bei gazed at the game interface, displaying a simulation of the fierce confrontation of electromagnetic spectrums, feeling a surge of tension. Although he was confident in the future's Type 055 destroyer, this was his first encounter in such a near-combat environment, facing the world-renowned 7th Fleet in a direct electronic confrontation. Intelligence, can we withstand this? Chen Bai inquired. Report to the commander. Our electronic warfare system's performance is comprehensively superior to that of the opponent by at least one generation. We have successfully suppressed over 40% of their radar and communication bands and are continuing to expand our advantage, the intelligence responded. Good. Upon hearing this, Chun Bei felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Meanwhile, in the command center of the 7th Fleet flagship, the Ronald Reagan, all electronic screens flickered violently, rendering images unclear and data garbled. Most of the warship's radar, fire control, and communication systems became exceedingly unstable under the formidable electromagnetic suppression. General Scott Beck's expression turned grim. He had never imagined that the Dragon Kingdom's electronic warfare capabilities could reach such heights. The mighty 7th Fleet, in direct electronic confrontation, found itself at a complete disadvantage, being firmly suppressed by the adversary. This was utterly unimaginable in the past. Why was the American aircraft carrier battle group able to deter the world? Beyond its formidable hard power, Its core strength lay in its unparalleled electromagnetic warfare capabilities, which provided an unmatched advantage of battlefield transparency. Even at the zenith of the Soviet Navy, it was never a match for the U.S. military in electronic warfare. Thus, the U.S. military could operate with impunity across the globe. Yet today, this myth was shattered. For the first time, the U.S. military encountered a rival in its most esteemed technological domain that was equally matched, if not superior. Report General. A communications officer anxiously reported that the roaring electronic warfare aircraft had experienced an overload failure in its onboard jamming pod, rendering it unable to take off for combat. How long will it take to rectify the issue? Scott Beck demanded, his voice laced with fury. Approximately 3 minutes, came the response. Resolve the issue immediately. Scott Beck nearly shouted. He had never anticipated that one day, the formidable 7th Fleet would find itself in such a precarious position in the realm of electronic warfare. Meanwhile, the situation aboard the Del Pilar-class frigate was even more dire. Captain Carlos Mendez wore a grim expression, darkened by frustration. Within the vessel, the screens of all electronic equipment emitted a series of crackling sounds before belching forth clouds of black smoke, rendering them utterly inoperative. Even the American warships, under the intense electromagnetic interference, managed to hold their ground with great difficulty. How could an antiquated Philippine vessel fare any better? It had instantly become the first casualty of this electromagnetic battle. In a further twist of fate, even worse news emerged. Several Philippine Coast Guard patrol boats, positioned just a few kilometers outside the exercise area and awaiting orders, simultaneously suffered a complete failure of their communication and navigation systems. Originally intended to utilize the exercise as cover for resupply operations, they had not even commenced their mission before being rendered entirely inoperative. What a disaster! Coronel Mendez lamented. Utterly disheartened. When had the Dragon Nation become so formidable? Even the mighty American forces were faltering. This was the 7th Fleet. How could this happen? The same questions echoed in the minds of General Scott Beck and all commanders of the 7th Fleet. Why? How had the electronic warfare capabilities of the Dragon Nation suddenly surged so dramatically? This was entirely inconsistent with their intelligence assessments of the Dragon Navy's electronic warfare capabilities. At that moment, on the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan, an E-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, having undergone urgent repairs by technicians, was launched from the flight deck, propelled into the sky by the immense force of the steam catapult. Commander, a Growler has taken off from the American aircraft carrier, an automated voice announced. This was the most potent carrier-based electronic warfare aircraft currently in service, the ace of the 7th Fleet's electronic warfare capabilities. The American counterattack had commenced. As anticipated, with the Growler's involvement, an even more powerful and complex array of jamming electromagnetic waves surged toward our exercise formation like an invisible tidal wave. The simulation animation representing electromagnetic confrontation on the game interface instantly intensified. However, our two Type 055 destroyers and two Type 052 destroyers, forming an electronic warfare matrix, stood steadfast like rocks amidst the sea, withstanding this fierce onslaught. This invisible war continued for half an hour, and ultimately, both sides tacitly agreed to cease high-intensity electromagnetic suppression nearly simultaneously. Communications and radar on the surface gradually returned to normal. In the end, the outcome appeared to be a stalemate. Neither side was able to completely vanquish the other, nor did either gain any decisive advantage. No, it was the Americans who faced defeat. The U.S. military, reliant on its technological supremacy, has consistently pursued a one-sided transparency. A stalemate signifies that the American forces have lost their absolute control over the battlefield and their electromagnetic advantage, equating to a strategic failure. Excellent. We have triumphed. In the rented room, Chunbei excitedly slapped his thigh. Merely with two Type 055 and two Type 052 destroyers on board electronic warfare capabilities, we can directly contend with the entire electronic warfare system of the 7th Fleet S-Carrier battle group, marking a victory worthy of history. If we had a few more Type 055s, or perhaps when the 3rd Fleet also possesses its dedicated electronic warfare aircraft, it would be more than enough to give the Americans a run for their money. In the Exercise Command Center, upon confirming that our side had successfully withstood the full pressure of the 7th Fleet in the previous electronic confrontation, a thunderous cheer erupted throughout the command center. Everyone's faces radiated with excitement and pride. This battle has instilled confidence and boosted morale. In stark contrast, 30 nautical miles away, within the flagship command center of the 7th Fleet, the atmosphere was one of utter silence. The faces of the commanders were etched with shock, confusion, and a hint of unmistakable defeat. They had lost. The mighty American military had faltered in the domain of electronic warfare, a field they held in high esteem. Who would have believed it? As the smoke of electronic warfare began to dissipate, Chun Bei promptly issued new orders. Using clear, coded communication, he notified the 7th Fleet. The changing exercise has officially commenced. To avoid misjudgments, please refrain from entering the exercise area or bear the consequences. Understood, Commander, came the response. In the next moment, the Coast Guard vessel 001 officially announced the exercise over the international public channel. Damn it, AUS. Commander in the 7th Fleet Command Center muttered under his breath upon hearing the broadcast, incensed. In the eyes of the Americans, this was a provocation. When did the Dragon Kingdom cease to regard the formidable American military with deference? Subsequently, refusing to back down, the 7th Fleet promptly announced that their joint exercise had officially begun. In an instant, the vast expanse of ocean where both fleets were located erupted with the sounds of cannon fire and the sight of missiles soaring into the sky, creating a tense atmosphere. Report to the commander, the intelligence officer announced. A dozen Philippine Coast Guard patrol boats have succumbed to the effects of the electromagnetic pulse, with their navigation and communication systems completely incapacitated. They have abandoned their original plans and are withdrawing from the exercise area. Is that it? Chen Bai remarked, bemused. He had anticipated that they would seize the opportunity amidst the chaos of the exercise to create some disturbances. Yet, before it even began, it had come to an end. He had overestimated them, giving you an opportunity, and you proved to be inept. Chun Bei shook his head and chuckled. He no longer paid attention to the Philippine forces and inquired, have our aircraft taken off? The scene transitions to an altitude of 10,000 meters, where 6 J-10 fighter jets, armed with live munitions, form a standard attack formation, soaring swiftly towards the exercise zone. The view shifts again to the runway of the Phoenix Air Force Base, where 2 J-20 fighters roar into the sky, rapidly vanishing into the vast expanse above. The second phase of exercise number 1, the aerial confrontation, officially commences. The 6 J-10s serve merely as supporting characters, tasked with providing cover and distraction. The protagonists are the 2 J-20s executing a penetration mission, aiming to silently breach the 7th Fleet's renowned air defense network, reputed to be the most formidable in the world. Chun Bei relishes this proactive approach. Historically, encounters with U.S. forces have often seen them initiating provocations while his side remained in a defensive posture. Chen Bai, Holvefa, refuses to abide by this dynamic. He is determined to seize the initiative and strike first. In the command center of the 7th Fleet, an urgent report resonates through the silence. We have detected 6 J-10 aircraft from the Dragon Nation, located 760 kilometers from our airspace. Simultaneously, satellite reconnaissance has confirmed the takeoff of 2 J-20 fighters from the Phoenix Air Force Base. The intelligence officer's voice disrupts the stillness, causing General Scott Baker's expression to shift to one of grave seriousness. He scrutinizes the indistinct satellite imagery displayed on the large screen and decisively commands. Order the carrier battle group to elevate to the highest state of readiness. Dispatch the Ronald Reagan and launch 6 F-18 Super Hornets for immediate interception. Direct Kadena Air Base to scramble 2 F-22 Raptors at once. A series of commands issues forth from Scott Baker. Soon, the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan reverberates with the thunderous roar of steam catapults as 6 F-18s take to the skies in rapid succession. Chapter 65, a historic moment. Simultaneously, Chen Bai receives an intelligent notification. The electronic map of the exercise reveals a clear aerial situation for both sides. Our forces, denoted by blue dots, comprise 6 J-10s and 2 J-20s, advancing swiftly towards the exercise area. The U.S. forces, represented by red dots, consist of 6 F-A-18s that have just launched from the carrier. As for the 2 F-22s that took off from Kadena Air Base in Japan, their stealth capabilities render them invisible on the map for the time being. Likewise, on the large screen in the 7th Fleet Command Center, the Americans can only detect the signals of the 6 J-10s, while the 2 J-20s remain entirely undetectable. Minutes later, above the South China Sea, the 6 J-10s and the 6 F-A-18s encounter each other first. They engage in an intense display of mutual pursuit and positioning, akin to 2 flocks of eagles clashing in the skies. The aircraft weave through the clouds, executing intricate tactical maneuvers that are breathtaking to behold. Yet, whether in his modest apartment or aboard the flagship of the 7th Fleet, both Chun Bei and General Baker are acutely aware that the true determinant of victory in this aerial showdown lies with the 2 elusive J-20s and the F-22s in the air. Intelligence, please predict when the 2 aircraft will reach our fleet's air defense zone, Chun Bei inquired. Based on the maximum supersonic cruising speed of the aircraft and the flight path, trajectory predictions indicate that in approximately 4 hours, the 2 aircraft will approach the outer air defense perimeter of our Type 055 destroyer. The intelligence promptly responded. Chen Bei's gaze shifted to the blue dot representing the aircraft. The electronic map revealed that the aircraft was still 650 kilometers from the U.S. carrier group, thus not yet entering its core air defense zone. Judging by distance, the two aircraft would enter our Type 055's air defense zone ahead of the others. The crux of victory hinged on whether the advanced phased array radar aboard the Type 055, derived from the future, could detect and lock onto the aircraft before they initiated an attack upon entering the air defense zone. Chen Bei held great confidence in the Type 055. Previously, during the encounter in the East China Sea, the performance of the airborne radar on the aircraft had already demonstrated superiority over that of the opposing aircraft. In contrast, the dual-band phased array radar outfitted on the Type 055 destroyer far surpassed the airborne radar in aperture, power, and algorithms. Theoretically, its capacity to detect stealth targets should naturally be stronger and more extensive. Predicted distance, 480 kilometers. Predicted distance, 450 kilometers. The intelligence continuously refreshed the predicted distance. Time was running short. Chen Bei began to count silently. 1, 2, 3. As he reached 13, a sharp alarm echoed. Beep, beep, beep. The Type 055 had detected the aircraft. Yes, Chen Bei exclaimed, raising his fist in excitement. Detection meant engagement was possible. In the skies above the South China Sea, amidst 10,000 meters of cloud cover, two aircraft were advancing rapidly toward the target airspace in a tactical formation. Suddenly, without warning, beep, 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 the deafening alarm blared within the cockpits of the two aircraft. Red warning lights flashed frantically. Damn it! Major Kane, the lead pilot, felt his pupils constrict as he yanked the control stick, shouting, "Goes to Eagle's Nest. I'm being locked on." Repeat. I am locked on by the Dragon Kingdom's shipborne fire control radar. At the 7th Fleet Command Center, Major Kane's voice, tinged with panic and disbelief, echoed clearly from the large screen. How is this possible? A commander responsible for air defense operations gasped. Everyone struggled to believe their ears. The aircraft, the pinnacle of American air superiority, had been locked on the tactical screen, based on the last data link information transmitted by the aircraft. Their lock position was still over 400 kilometers from the Dragon Kingdom's fleet. At such an extraordinary distance, it was astonishing that they could accurately detect and lock onto the aircraft with a radar cross-section of merely 0.001 square meters. When did the radar stealth countermeasures of the Dragon Kingdom's naval vessels become so formidable? Within the command center, the atmosphere felt as though it had solidified. Silence enveloped the room as everyone could only watch in astonishment as the icons representing two aircraft, designated as 22, were locked on and immediately veered off, hastily accelerating back towards Kadena Air Base. After a prolonged silence, it was General Scott Beck who shattered the oppressive quiet. Have we detected the Dragon Kingdom's 20? Report, General. No sightings. The communication officer's response heightened the tension within the command cabin. The failure of the Tu-22 aircraft to penetrate was already a significant blow. But if the situation were to reverse and the Dragon Kingdom's 20 successfully infiltrated our carrier group's air defense perimeter, it would spell disaster. Order. Beck's voice suddenly rose. Set the radar power of the 4 Aegis destroyers to maximum. The Roaring Tiger and the Hawkeye AWACS proceed immediately to search. We must locate those 2 damned aircraft. The command was swiftly executed. The radars aboard the 4 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers scanned the surroundings at full power, while airborne electronic reconnaissance and early warning aircraft frantically searched every inch of suspicious airspace. Yet, the radar screens revealed no trace of the 20. This left 2 possibilities. Either the 20 had never entered the carrier's air defense perimeter and was merely feigning presence from afar, or it had already infiltrated unnoticed. The latter possibility sent chills down the spines of all American commanders present. Report, Commander. Our Tu-20s have successfully breached the outer air defense perimeter of the American carrier group. The intelligent voice echoed in Chen Bei's ears. They have entered. Splendid. Chen Bei, who had just seated himself, leapt up once more in exhilaration. This signified that our 5th-generation aircraft had successfully accomplished stealth penetration against the American carrier battle group in direct confrontation. It was a historic moment. On board the Haijian 001, the atmosphere was tense yet exhilarating. General Zhao Weidong, Major General Zhou Zhenghua, and all present commanders stood, their gazes fixated on the electronic screen. Chapter 66. The 20 penetrates the American carrier group on the screen. The blue dots representing the Tu-20s silently breached the air defense perimeter of the American carrier group and were rapidly closing in on the core area of the carrier group at an astonishing speed. Distance, 300 kilometers. Distance, 280 kilometers. As the distance dwindled to 200 kilometers, a young Air Force officer could no longer contain his excitement and was the first to cheer aloud. We did it. The penetration was successful. At 200 kilometers, they had entered the optimal attack range for the long-range anti-ship missiles carried by the 20. This meant that even if the American carrier battle group detected the 20 right at that moment, it would be too late. They were simply too close. From this distance, the reaction time allotted to the U.S. military's standard series of air defense missiles will be measured in mere seconds, rendering them nearly incapable of response. They can solely depend on close-in defense systems like the Phalanx and Aegis for interception. Relying on close-in guns to counter anti-ship missiles leaves the Americans with nothing but fervent prayers to the heavens. Beep, beep, beep. At that moment, an ear-piercing alarm blared furiously within the 7th Fleet's command center. Target detected. 2 aircraft. Bearing and distance. It is the Dragon Kingdom's stealth fighters. The Americans have finally identified the threat. However, rather than relief, chaos ensued within the command center. Discovering 2 Dragon Kingdom fighters at this range was utterly meaningless. If the 2 aircraft launched an assault with their 20 missiles, it essentially spelled the end of the game. 1 minute later, aboard an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer positioned at the outermost perimeter of the carrier battle group, a U.S. soldier on deck suddenly heard a deep, rumbling sound approaching from a distance. Curiously, the soldier looked up towards the sky. In the next moment, his pupils dilated in shock as he beheld 2 silvery-gray aircraft piercing through the clouds. Like phantoms, the 2 jets emerged, lowering their altitude. The unmistakable canard wings and diamond-shaped noses unmistakably marked them as Dragon Kingdom's 20 fighters. The 2 aircraft, adopting an aggressively menacing posture, screamed past overhead the destroyer, then soared over the Aegis-equipped vessels, directly targeting the heart of the formation, the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier. As they flew, the 2 jets once again descended, their thunderous roar resonating like the grim bellow of death across the sea and sky. On the deck of the Ronald Reagan, a ground crew member guiding the launch of aircraft instinctively crouched down, shielding his head in terror as the 2 approaching specters drew near. In the next moment, whoosh! The 220 fighters, akin to twin bolts of silver lightning, seemed to skim the carrier's island as they hurtled past the deck. Gasps erupted from those on the deck. One U.S. soldier, eyes wide with disbelief, clearly saw the smooth belly of the 20, along with the pilot inside the cockpit, giving them an inverted thumbs up. The 2 aircraft howled past the carrier, suddenly pulling up sharply, leaving behind 2 trails of silver light that vanished into the clouds, disappearing without a trace. From their appearance to their traversal across the entire carrier group, the entire sequence unfolded in less than 6 or 7 seconds. Many soldiers who had rushed out of the ship's compartments in response to the commotion could only catch a fleeting glimpse of a metallic glint produced by sunlight refracting through the high-altitude clouds, vanishing in an instant. It was a blatant slap in the face. No, this was far beyond mere humiliation. If this were a genuine conflict in those fleeting moments, this colossal nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, valued at billions and laden with thousands of soldiers and nearly 100 warplanes, could have sustained a catastrophic blow, transforming into a floating steel tomb upon the ocean surface. A young American soldier gazed vacantly at the sky where 2 aircraft had vanished, his astonishment lingering in his eyes. The skies over the South China Sea were poised for change. The 2 J-20s executed a textbook infiltration, subsequently returning to base with aplomb. Meanwhile, a high-definition video captured by onboard cameras, showcasing their flight over the American naval fleet, was transmitted in real time to the command center via encrypted data links. Splendidly done. Chen Bei beheld the breathtaking footage from the aircraft's first-person perspective. Americans, haven't you always considered yourselves invincible? Haven't you long believed your carrier strike groups to be unmatched? As of today, that myth has been irrevocably shattered. Cheers erupted in the exercise command center. We have triumphed. We did it. What a magnificent display. This is nothing short of a textbook infiltration. Outstanding. Several young commanders, gazing at the screen depicting the enormous and cumbersome American carrier from the J-20's perspective, were moved to tears. The entire sequence, from the 2 J-20s breaching the American carrier's air defense perimeter to traversing the flight deck and returning home, lasted merely a dozen seconds. Yet for the Dragon Nation's Navy, those fleeting moments were the culmination of 63 years of anticipation. Silence. General Zhao Weidong, the chief director, spoke in a low voice. The exuberant command center fell silent in an instant. The exercise was far from over. Zhao Weidong's gaze shifted to another maritime area on the operational map. Has the target vessel arrived? He inquired. A commander responsible for target area logistics promptly reported. Report to the chief director, target vessel Longwang No. One has reached the designated strike zone. In an expansive sea area, 120 kilometers from the fleet, a rusted, deep-drafted, 10,000-ton retired cargo ship floated quietly on the surface. This vessel was the exercise's target. A tugboat had just completed the final target setup and was now departing. All personnel aboard the target vessel had already evacuated. A few nautical miles away, a naval observation ship equipped with various high-speed cameras and sensors was stationed to record precise data on the missile strike. Lieutenant Colonel Lee Lay held binoculars, confirming that all personnel had safely evacuated from the target vessel. As he shifted the binoculars to the left, he spotted an oceanographic survey ship flying the American flag, approximately 6 nautical miles from the target vessel. This was the Americans' observation ship. They had evidently learned through various channels of the Dragon Nation's exercise, which included a significant test of a new anti-ship missile. Our side had not issued orders to drive them away, or rather, it is a directive for the Americans to pay close attention. The control room has been informed that all personnel have evacuated from the target vessel, and the area has been secured. Lee Lay retracted his binoculars and reported to the command center. Chapter 67. A single YJ-21 missile sent the 7th Fleet fleeing. Upon receiving the response, an eerie silence enveloped the command center once more. All eyes were fixated on General Zhao Weidong, the chief director. Zhao raised his wrist to observe the second hand of his watch ticking methodically. Concurrently, an intelligent voice resonated within Chun Bei's rented apartment. Report to the commander. The target vessel is in position and ready for the strike test. Chun Bei, savoring a steaming bowl of beef noodles, immediately set down his chopsticks upon hearing the report. The game interface transitioned to the target vessel's maritime area. The date was August 10th, and the time read 11:40 a.m. The command, Coast Guard Vessel 001. Launch 1 YJ-21 missile. Target, the target vessel Vision 1. Position, coordinates confirmed. Target locked. Launch parameters established. In the missile launch control room of Coast Guard Vessel 001. An operator pressed the red launch button. Boom! On the deck, a square launch port cover was flung open, and a plume of smoke and flames erupted. A sleek, jet-black missile, trailing a long tail of fire, soared into the sky. After ascending, the missile swiftly adjusted its trajectory. The solid-fuel rocket booster falling away as the main engine ignited. The missile speed data displayed on the command center's large screen began to surge dramatically. In the blink of an eye, it surpassed Mach 1. Simultaneously, 30 nautical miles away aboard the flagship of the United States 7th Fleet. Report. Detection of the Dragon Kingdom Fleet launching a new anti-ship missile. Speed Mach 1. Mach 1. 5 Mach 2. The voice of the radar operator trembled slightly. What? Admiral Scott Beck gazed at the rapidly moving light on the screen, along with the fluctuating speed data beside it, incredulously exclaiming, "Confirm the data. Is there an error?" Report, General. The data is accurate. The radar is functioning normally. The communications officer replied loudly. In the brief seconds of their exchange, the missile's flight speed on the large screen skyrocketed, akin to a rocket, reaching Mach 3, Mach 4, Mach 5. Mach 5. This is absolutely impossible. A commander responsible for air defense cried out, unable to believe the data and suspecting a malfunction in their radar equipment. Check the radar immediately. Now. Report. No issues with the instruments. Report. Data link is normal. Instruments are functioning properly. Impossible. All American commanders in the command center were left in shock by the terrifying data. Currently, no anti-ship missile deployed by any nation in the world can possibly achieve such a velocity. Mach 5 has already surpassed the interception limits of all air defense missiles globally. Hypersonic anti-ship missiles have long posed a formidable challenge to the world's leading military powers for decades. Has it been developed by the Dragon Nation? The data displayed on the screen continues to soar. Ultimately, Mach 55 stabilizes at Mach 6. At this terrifying speed of Mach 6, after a stable flight at an altitude of 10,000 meters for over a minute, the missile approaches the airspace of the target vessel. Subsequently, the missile begins its downward plunge, entering the terminal attack phase. During the final seconds of this descent, the missile's speed, propelled by both gravitational acceleration and its own thrust, escalates dramatically, reaching a staggering instantaneous speed of Mach 10. Indeed, Mach 10. Wow! Chun Bei exclaimed with excitement. Although he was already aware of the theoretical data of the YJ-21, this was the first time it had undergone a real combat test in an authentic scenario. Mach 10. To say nothing of Mach 10, simply exceeding Mach 5 renders all currently known anti-missile systems globally utterly ineffective against it. This is a true manifestation of invulnerability. Meanwhile, on an observation vessel several nautical miles away from the target ship, Colonel Lee Lay suddenly looked up at the cloud cover above. He heard an increasingly sharp roar. Boom! Colonel Lee Lay's eyes widened in astonishment. He saw it. A brilliant orb of light tearing through the clouds at an indescribable speed, descending rapidly. The flash of light resembled divine retribution descending from the heavens, moving at an incredible pace. So swift that Colonel Lee Lay could barely capture its trajectory. He only perceived a fleeting white light. The next moment, boom, a thunderous explosion engulfed the target ship, Yuan Wang No. 1, in a massive fireball. Wow. A look of astonishment first crossed Colonel Li Lei's face, only to be quickly replaced by overwhelming joy. Oh, Bain, Li Lei. A dozen observers could no longer contain their excitement, erupting in jubilant cheers. Incredible. Chen Bai Chiat, Ikfali Shekten. Especially the scene of the missile diving from the clouds was astonishingly fast, so fast that it seemed to teleport, leaving no time for any reaction. The American observation vessel, several soldiers, initially with a somewhat casual attitude, now stood agape, their mouths agape, as if to fit a chicken egg. The footage returned to the command center of the USS Ronald Reagan, enveloped in a profound silence. All American military commanders were left dumbfounded, utterly astonished. What missile is this? How could it be so swift? The thought of targeting the USS Reagan sent a chilling wave coursing through everyone's spine. The Haijian 001, the Exercise Command Center, a cadre of seasoned commanders, accustomed to the crucible of battle, stared at the images transmitted on the large screen, resembling scenes from a science fiction film, their mouths agape. Rendered speechless. My goodness, it was breathtaking. For a few seconds, silence enveloped the command center, broken only by the sound of collective gasps. The next moment, boom, uncontainable cheers erupted like a volcanic explosion, instantly engulfing the entire command center. Generals and officers embraced fervently. We did it. We succeeded. This is our hypersonic anti-ship missile. Sobi. Another person was moved to tears. Report. A communications officer suddenly stood up, their voice sharp with excitement. The American carrier group is retreating. What? The command center fell into an immediate hush. The communications officer excitedly reiterated, Director, the U.S. 7th Fleet Carrier Strike Group is changing course, retreating at full speed from the exercise zone. Hooray! Following a brief silence, the cheers erupted even more fiercely, more frantically. Chapter 68. The world's first hypersonic anti-ship missile. Hooray! Chen Bei also received the news of the 7th Fleet's retreat, exhilarated to the point of dancing with joy. We won. This is a resounding victory. It was a triumph of sheer brilliance. Who would dare believe it? The invincible 7th Fleet was, indeed, scared into a hasty retreat. Just as Chen Bei was reveling in this exhilarating victory, a series of task completion notifications appeared on the game interface, bursting forth like celebratory fireworks. Exercise Task Phase 1 completed. Successfully conducted electronic suppression on the U.S. 7th Fleet. Reward, 3 technology points. 8,000 gold. Exercise Task Phase 2 completed. Successfully breached the U.S. Carrier Strike Group 20 times. Reward, 3 technology points. 8,000 gold. Exercise Task Phase 3 completed. Successfully test-fired the YJ-21, forcing the U.S. 7th Fleet to retreat. Reward, 3 technology points. 8,000 gold. After a cascade of rewards, Chen Bei's game data transformed dramatically. Current technology points, 71,100, current gold, 86,000. Wow. Chen Bei gazed at the impressive array of numbers, his eyes sparkling with delight. Such generous rewards? In a single exercise, his technology points surged by 9, and his gold tally increased by 24,000. Incredible. Absolutely thrilling. Chen Bei was so elated that he could hardly close his mouth. His gaze shifted once more to the electronic map, a broader smile gracing his lips. On the map, a vast expanse of red icons representing the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet Aircraft Carrier Strike Group is indeed moving at full speed towards the southeast, without a trace of hesitation or pause. Yes, they are genuinely retreating. Undoubtedly, the successful incursion by the 20th has startled the 7th Fleet, instilling an unprecedented sense of threat. However, it was not enough to drive the proud Americans into a direct retreat. The emergence of the YJ-21 missile, however, proved to be the last straw, genuinely instilling fear within them. This missile possesses the capability to sink an aircraft carrier. Faced with such an uncounterable, lethal carrier killer, the Americans felt genuine trepidation. They dared not risk their multi-billion-dollar nuclear-powered aircraft carriers or the lives of thousands of sailors even the slightest bit. What was once a purported joint military exercise has devolved into a complete farce. Chen Bei continued to gaze at the electronic map. The Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group was retreating at full speed. By 4 in the afternoon, they had retreated over 1,000 kilometers away, nearly exiting the South China Sea. It was only then that the Americans halted, believing they were safe. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the golden twilight was gradually replaced by the encroaching night. At 6:12 p.m. in the capital city, a dignified female host in the broadcasting studio of the National Ministry of Science and Technology's news segment was reporting on advancements in domestic technology. At that moment, just outside the camera's view, The director silently slipped an urgently printed note beneath the host's script. The host maintained her composure, discreetly glancing at the note's contents. At 10:40 a.m. today, our Navy successfully launched a hypersonic anti-ship missile, the YJ-21, in a certain area of the South China Sea. After concluding the current news segment without revealing her surprise, the host slightly elevated her tone. Now, we interrupt for an urgent news bulletin. Our station has just received information from the South China Sea Fleet. At 10:40 a.m. today, during live-fire exercises conducted in the South China Sea, our military successfully test-fired a new type of hypersonic anti-ship missile, codenamed YJ-21. According to related experts, the YJ-21 is the world's first hypersonic anti-ship missile independently developed by our nation, and its groundbreaking capabilities mark a historic advancement in our strategic strike capabilities. As the report continued, the news footage swiftly transitioned to a meticulously edited video lasting several seconds. First, showing the command center of the Coast Guard 001 missile destroyer, with a close-up of the operator pressing the missile launch button. The scene then shifted to the deck, where the square cover of the vertical launch system instantly flew open. Whoosh! A massive missile, trailing a blazing tail, soared into the sky. The footage transitioned again to the command center, where the missile's flight speed data on the display screen surged at an astonishing rate. 1 Mach, 2 Mach, 3 Mach. The scene transitions once more to a tranquil sea, where a solitary target ship floats. Suddenly, a piercing roar emanates from the clouds above. In the blink of an eye, a dazzling orb of light tears through the cloud cover, descending at a speed that surpasses human visual limits. Boom! The image freezes at the moment when the target ship is completely engulfed in flames and colossal waves. Wow, that was incredibly fast. What kind of missile is this? It all happened so quickly. Middle-aged office worker Mr. Wong, weary from his day, returns home and plops onto the sofa in his living room. He turns on the television, just in time to witness this breathtaking spectacle. Hypersonic missile? He mutters in curiosity, pulling out his phone to search online. At the same time, university student Xiao Li, upon opening Phoenix News, is captivated by a bold, crimson headline. National treasure. Our military successfully test fires the YJ-21, the world's first hypersonic anti-ship missile. Hypersonic? That certainly sounds impressive, he thinks, clicking to learn more. Meanwhile, seasoned military enthusiast Long Hun, upon encountering this news, swiftly shares the link and a brief video on the largest military forum in the country, Tissue and Military Network. Brothers, don't sleep. Get up and celebrate. We have hypersonic capabilities. The carrier killer, YJ-21, has arrived. The post acts like a depth charge dropped into a serene lake, instantly igniting fervor across the forum. No way. Is this real? Am I dreaming? I've watched the video 3 times. So fast. The speed is akin to teleportation. What is so impressive about hypersonic? Can someone enlighten me? What speed can it actually achieve? Is there an expert to explain? Stop asking. The answer is simple. Earth's server delay makes interception impossible. Soon, a knowledgeable military enthusiast steps in to clarify. Everyone. In simple terms, a hypersonic missile travels at speeds exceeding Mach 5 and possesses high maneuverability. Its terminal velocity can reach Mach 10 or even higher, exceeding the interception limits of all known missile defense systems globally. The U.S. Navy's proud Aegis system is rendered ineffective against such missiles. In essence, no naval vessel in the world, including U.S. carrier strike groups equipped with air defense missiles, can intercept targets traveling faster than Mach 5. The YJ-21's terminal speed reaches Mach 10, signifying its invincibility. It can strike precisely where aimed, with no means of defense. This encapsulates the true meaning of a carrier killer. Are you saying that we no longer need to fear U.S. aircraft carriers? In theory, yes. We now possess a decisive weapon capable of delivering a lethal blow. The entire forum erupted in excitement. Chapter 69. Igniting global discourse amidst the fervor surrounding the emergence of the YJ-21, a piece of news from abroad ignited military discourse worldwide. The British Broadcasting Corporation, prominently featured on its website, published a provocative in-depth report titled The Inside Story of the South China Sea Standoff. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet rarely withdrew 1,000 kilometers during exercises with the Dragon Nation's fleet. This report meticulously cited multiple anonymous sources and satellite imagery analyses, pointing out that on August 10th, during the exercises, the formidable U.S. 7th Fleet exhibited an unusual maneuver, retreating at full speed approximately 1,000 kilometers eastward in the face of the Dragon Nation's fleet. This news was promptly disseminated by major global news agencies such as Reuters and the Associated Press, with some media outlets even publishing satellite photographs that demonstrated the Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group, originally deployed near Renai Reef, had now appeared in the Tsushima Strait. further corroborating the authenticity of the report. In a WeChat group, Wang Lei excitedly proclaimed to all, "Brothers, big news. This morning, the 7th Fleet was scared into retreating 1,000 nautical miles. Ha ha ha. They've embarrassed themselves in front of the whole world." Wang Lei then shared a news link in the group. At that moment, Chun Bei was lazily lying on his bed, scrolling through his phone. After a nap following the morning's exercises, he had just awakened. Seeing Wang Lei's message in the group brought a smile to Chun Bei's face as he clicked on the link, which led him to the news page. He chuckled, amused. In the comment section of the article, netizens from around the world expressed their thoughts. "Well done, Dragon Nation. It's about time someone stood up to challenge American hegemony. Incredible. The U.S. military was actually scared away? What a humiliation. This must be fake news. How could the mighty U.S. Navy retreat? Stop speculating. It's certainly a malfunction of U.S. equipment, or they simply evacuated the exercise area. It has nothing to do with the Dragon Nation." To those above, don't be foolish. The Dragon Nation tested a hypersonic missile at Mach 10 today. If the 7th Fleet didn't retreat, would they wait to become a target? The comment section revealed a mixture of schadenfreude from those who enjoyed seeing the Americans humiliated, alongside skepticism from many who doubted the 7th Fleet's capabilities, considering it unlikely they would flee in disgrace, deeming it to be fabricated news. Chun Bei, after skimming through a few comments, redirected his focus back to the group. Lu Wei exclaimed, "Wow, is this for real? The 7th Fleet was scared off." Wang Lei responded, "It's all over the news, it must be true." And combined with the YJ-21 missile test this morning, what does that signify? It shows that the Americans are afraid. Zhang Chang added, "This is so satisfying." The three of them engaged in a lively discussion in the group, their excitement palpable. Chun Bei responded with a tearful emoji, expressing his exhilaration. He then stretched, rose from his bed, and prepared to go out for a meal. Just as he stepped out the door, his phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a call from his elder sister. "Hello, sister. Xiao Bei, have you eaten?" The gentle voice of my sister echoed. "I was just about to head out for a meal. It's not good to eat alone outside. You must take better care of yourself," she chattered on with concern, before swiftly shifting the conversation. "So, my dear brother, have you found a girlfriend yet?" "No. You really should. You're not getting any younger. I'm only 26. There's no rush." "Not in a hurry. The son of Uncle Wang from the east end of the village is a year younger than you, and he is already learning to fetch soy sauce." My sister was poised to continue her relentless discourse, which would surely lead to yet another matchmaking endeavor. Seizing a moment, Chun Bei hastily concocted an excuse about his phone's battery dying and abruptly ended the call. What a situation this was. Chun Bei couldn't help but chuckle in disbelief. Can you believe it? Just as he had commanded his fleet to intimidate the American 7th Fleet, he was now burdened with the headache of matchmaking. Flipping the calendar page. The next morning, the first task upon waking was his unwavering ritual of signing in. Sign in successful. Gained 1 technology point, 1,000 gold coins. Current technology points, 72,100. Current gold coins, 87,000. Intelligent, please display today's trending news. The gaming interface revealed the hot topics on Weibo. Eagle Strike 21 missile shocking debut. U.S. Navy 7th Fleet Aircraft Carrier Battle Group withdraws from the South China Sea. 810 South China Sea exercise. Full review. Ministry of Foreign Affairs responds to 810 exercise-related questions. 4 trending topics, all related to yesterday's exercise. One particular entry from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs piqued Chun Bei's interest, and he clicked on it. In the video, a routine press conference of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs unfolded. A foreign journalist posed a question. "Madam Spokesperson, how do you comment on reports of the U.S. 7th Fleet's hasty withdrawal post-exercise? Does this signify a more aggressive military strategy from Longhua in the South China Sea?" Upon hearing the question, the spokesperson revealed a knowing smile. "Regarding the specific situation you mentioned, I have no further information to provide. I would like to reiterate that the Longhua military conducts regular exercises within its sovereign territory, and this is not directed against any specific nation." Although the spokesperson claimed to have no additional information, her inadvertent smile spoke volumes. The video continued, transitioning to a press conference at the State Department in the United States. Several journalists surrounded the spokesperson, pressing for confirmation on the reports of the 7th Fleet's withdrawal. The spokesperson appeared flustered, stammering, "I have yet to receive any relevant information from the Department of Defense." With that, she hastily concluded the conference, escaping amidst the journalists' persistent inquiries. Hee. Chen Bai chuckled alut, contemplating whether to share the videos of electronic warfare and the 20 ultra-low altitude flyover of the Reagan aircraft carrier online to stoke the flames further. After careful consideration, I have decided against further action. The military has not proactively released these videos, and it would be inappropriate for him to take any additional steps. As an avid military enthusiast, Chun Bei has a certain understanding of the customary practices of our armed forces. Often, Crucial achievements and details of confrontations are not revealed until 6 months, a year, or even longer after the fact, typically surfacing in a rather incidental manner. This time, had it not been for the significant implications of the YJ-21 missile, it would not have been disclosed so promptly. Just then, an intelligent voice interjected. "Commander, we have received an update regarding the latest personnel changes within the 7th Fleet." A notification popped up on the game interface. Colonel Michael Jining, commander of the 7th Fleet's Electronic Warfare Unit, has been relieved of his duties due to personal reasons and reassigned to the Logistics Department. Chen Bai chuckled, immediately grasping the situation. This unfortunate Colonel Jennings had evidently become the scapegoat for the disastrous electronic warfare defeat. Chapter 70. The American Counterattack in the Luogang district of Shenzhen. Within an office building adorned with various trendy company signs, a single office on the 6th floor housed a military social media influencer known as Tai Shui Guanlan, whose real name is Zhang Fan. As he sipped his coffee, he refreshed several news websites in search of inspiration for today's video content. At that moment, a personnel announcement from the official U.S. Navy website caught his attention. Breaking news. Colonel Michael Jennings, commander of the 7th Fleet's Electronic Warfare Unit, has been relieved of his duties due to personal reasons. As a blogger deeply entrenched in military affairs, Zhang Fan possessed an exceptionally keen instinct. He immediately connected this seemingly insignificant personnel change to the news from the previous day regarding the 7th Fleet's withdrawal of 1,000 kilometers. In an instant, a clear chain of logic formed in his mind. "Indeed, this aligns perfectly," Zhang Fan exclaimed, slapping his thigh in excitement. The dismissal of Colonel Jennings was certainly not merely due to personal reasons. It seemed more akin to scapegoating. Reflecting on the previous day, when the Dragon country officially announced the successful test launch of the YJ-21 missile in the South China Sea, followed by reports of the 7th Fleet retreating 1,000 kilometers in fear, it became evident that the rapid replacement of the Electronic Warfare Unit's commander was a response to their defeat in the exercise confrontation. This analysis led Zhang Fan to hypothesize that during the exercises on the morning prior, our side had launched a YJ-21 hypersonic missile that successfully deterred the 7th Fleet. The 7th Fleet faced humiliation on the world stage and inevitably needed a scapegoat to quell public opinion and internal discontent, making this electronic warfare commander the ideal candidate for blame. The YJ-21 truly frightened the 7th Fleet away. With this realization, Zhang Fan knew precisely what content to record for today's video. That afternoon, his social media account, Tai Shui Guanlan, released a new video titled U.S. Military Commander Dismissed. Behind the 810 exercise, how devastating was the defeat of the 7th Fleet? A profound analysis reveals how the YJ-21 missile shattered the psychological defenses of the U.S. military. In the video, Zhang Fan meticulously examines the officially released footage of the YJ-21 test launch, delving into the missile specifications and its revolutionary strike capability against carrier battle groups. He then provides a thorough, logically sound analysis of the 7th Fleet's withdrawal of 1,000 kilometers and the dismissal of Colonel Jennings, peeling back the layers of this news. This is no mere coincidence. It signifies a monumental breakthrough for the Dragon Nation in the realm of hypersonic anti-ship missiles. This milestone indicates that we have established an absolute area denial capability against any adversary that dares to approach the South China Sea. Following the release of this video, it immediately sparked a reaction. The insights shared were astonishing, akin to having opened a celestial eye. One could only deduce that the Americans must have felt the sting. Otherwise, why would they retreat so swiftly? Truly remarkable. This is what a genuine military analyst embodies, capable of extracting such significant information from a single news story about a dismissal. Poor Colonel Jennings has become the modern-day MacArthur. Kudos to our military personnel for their remarkable achievements. The online community flooded the comments section with praise, expressing their exhilaration and sense of vindication. The fervor surrounding the 810 exercise continued to escalate over the following days, only to gradually subside 3 days later with the successful conclusion of the drills. The impact of this exercise on the Americans was evidently more profound than Chun Bei had anticipated. That morning, Chun Bei awoke and, while lying in bed, began scrolling through his phone, quickly coming across a video news report. In the video, a senior official from the U.S. Department of Defense passionately delivered a report during a congressional hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, we must soberly recognize that the rapid advancements of the Dragon Nation in military technology pose a significant threat to America's global leadership. Compared to the former Soviet Union, the Dragon Nation represents a more efficient and technologically agile adversary, presenting the most formidable challenge we have faced to date. A smirk crept across Chun Bei's face as he watched the video. The Americans were simply reiterating their tired narrative of the Dragon threat, lacking any originality. Toward the end of the video, the official shifted gears, promoting the U.S. military's pivot back to the Asia-Pacific to confront this serious challenge. We must redeploy 70% of our naval and air forces to the Asia-Pacific region to protect our allies and maintain regional peace and stability. How frightening, Chen Bai scoffed, saying, "Don't just talk about 70, bring them all over if you can." After finishing the video, Chen Mu put away his phone and got out of bed. It was 10 in the morning. The American specific actions were underway. New York, Fox News. Host Bobby reported the latest news from the Pentagon. The station has just received word that, in response to the growing maritime threats posed by the Dragon Nation, the Pentagon announced an additional $6 billion in research and development funding for the Navy's next-generation destroyer, the Zumwalt program, to expedite its construction and deployment process. The news footage displayed an exceptionally futuristic model of the warship, Zumwalt Chen Bai Mom Uret. This vessel is renowned in military circles, known to all enthusiasts. It is hailed as the most formidable destroyer on the planet, boasting a sci-fi aesthetic with sharp angles. Its unique wave-piercing hull design completely redefines the conventional appearance of warships, resembling an extraterrestrial battleship. The data circulating online is indeed impressive, a displacement exceeding 15,000 tons, a cutting-edge all-electric propulsion system, and stealth capabilities claimed to be 50 times superior to those of the Burke-class destroyers. Furthermore, it features an advanced vertical launch system and two 155mm naval guns with a range exceeding 100 kilometers. However, Chen Bai is aware that many in the military enthusiast community harbor skepticism about this visually striking, yet seemingly impractical warship. Even numerous Western military experts have voiced substantial criticisms regarding its ostentatious design philosophy. Intelligent, Chen Bai inquired curiously, "What is your assessment of the Zumwalt-class destroyer?" Reporting Commander. Intelligent promptly responded, "Based on the available public data and future technological development trends, a comprehensive evaluation reveals significant flaws in the design philosophy of the Zumwalt-class destroyer. It is a failed product." Chapter 71. The Compromise of the Monkey and Closed-Door Negotiations. Oh, significant flaws? Chen Bai's interest was piqued. "Please elaborate." Intelligent began to enumerate the deficiencies of the Zumwalt. First, in pursuit of ultimate radar stealth, its inward-sloping hull design results in inferior stability in rough seas, limiting navigational performance. Second, its integrated electric propulsion system suffers from heat dissipation and power transmission issues in its initial design, leading to insufficient reliability. Third, and most critically, the main gun's use of long-range land attack munitions incurs exorbitant costs, with individual rounds nearing $1 million. In summary, the Zumwalt-class destroyer, developed by the U.S. Navy in the early 21st century, features stealth design and advanced technologies such as electromagnetic guns. However, its actual performance falls far short of expectations, plagued by numerous technical shortcomings and strategic misjudgments. Upon hearing this, Chen Bai felt a wave of astonishment. So many significant flaws? His skepticism was not directed at intelligence analytical capabilities, but rather at the incredulity of the situation. Surely, the Americans could not be so unreliable? Although he had boldly provoked the Americans during the 810 exercises, he had never truly underestimated this singular global superpower. While discussions online suggest that the United States has entered a period of decline, it seems improbable that they would commit such a fundamental and irreparable error in the design of their flagship destroyer. Is the United States truly capable of such folly with a formidable asset like the Zumwalt-class destroyer? Chen Bai shook his head, dismissing the thought. What does it matter how the Americans conduct themselves? What is certain is that the Zumwalt-class destroyer is undoubtedly no match for the Type 055. Understanding this is sufficient. If that is the case, let them invest further. The more they invest, the more funds they will squander in the future, which will surely be entertaining. With this thought, Chen Bai chuckled. "Commander, we have new intelligence from Captain Zhou at the Sanya base." An intelligent voice interrupted Chen Bai's musings. A notification appeared on the game interface, revealing an encrypted brief from Captain Zhou. The summary of the intelligence indicated that, according to reliable sources, the U.S. Department of Defense has decided to deploy an additional 22 F-22 Raptors to military bases in Japan and South Korea over the next year. Consequently, the total number of F-22s stationed in the Asia-Pacific region will reach 36. The U.S. military has only 187 F-22s in total, with 14 already in the Asia-Pacific. Now they plan to increase this by another 22. It seems they have genuinely been provoked by the 20. Chen Bai stroked his chin, and an odd thought emerged. 36 aircraft, could it be? He recalled his earlier prank to mislead the Americans, where he had deliberately assigned the numbers 027 to 032 to 6 newly upgraded 20s at the Phoenix Air Force Base. creating the illusion that the Dragon Nation had at least 32 operational 20s. If the Americans were indeed responding by deploying 36 F-22s, because of this, it would be quite amusing. However, it is worth noting that this was not entirely a deception aimed at the Americans. As far as he knew, the domestic aviation industry had already begun constructing a new production line for the 20. According to plans, by this time next year, the annual production capacity for the 20 would reach 30 units, with a total of 120 units equipped within 3 years and 200 units within 5 years. Yet, in Chun Bei's view, this pace was still too slow. His ambition was to achieve a total of 200 units of the 20 within 3 years, ensuring that the number of fifth-generation aircraft would surpass that of the United States comprehensively. Given the existence of the game, 200 units was merely a conservative estimate. Closing the notification, Chun Bei turned to inquire, any updates on the supply delivery to the Mount Madra by the Filipinos? Commander, there are currently no new developments, came the intelligent response. It has been several days since the exercise concluded, and the Filipinos have remained utterly silent. I wonder how long they can endure, Chun Bei scoffed. The supplies on the decrepit Mount Madra can sustain operations for no more than 2 additional months. What about the negotiations regarding the detained personnel? Chun Bei asked again. Commander, there has been no progress. However, following the failure of the second round of negotiations, the Filipino side has clearly softened their stance, repeatedly expressing through diplomatic channels their desire to initiate a third round of talks as soon as possible. Upon hearing this, Chun Bei smiled. How could they not soften? With a single strike from the Eagle Strike 21, even their American patrons were sent scurrying, leaving them with little courage to resist. Yet, this was insufficient. Chun Bei contemplated for a moment, determining that a further provocation was in order. He instructed Captain Zhou to initiate judicial proceedings against the 36 Filipino fishermen and 8 Filipino naval soldiers, thereby exerting pressure on the Philippines. Chun Bei aimed to intensify the pressure on the Philippines, ultimately shattering their psychological defenses. That afternoon, the news office of the Haikou municipal government convened a highly anticipated press conference. A spokesperson, facing the cameras of numerous domestic and international media outlets, announced gravely, following an examination by our prosecutorial authorities, it has been determined that the actions of 36 Filipino fishermen engaged in illegal fishing activities, as well as the subsequent violent resistance from 8 Filipino naval personnel that severely hindered our Coast Guard's lawful enforcement, have violated relevant laws of our nation. Legal proceedings have been formally initiated today against these 44 criminal suspects. This announcement detonated in the international discourse like a heavy bombshell. While mere detention allowed for the possibility of negotiations, this move plunged directly into judicial proceedings. There was no turning back. Upon receiving the news in the Philippines, the presidential office in Manila descended into utter chaos. What? The Dragon Nation intends to put our people on trial. How dare they? The Foreign Affairs Minister shouted in exasperation. Mr. President, we must act immediately. The Defense Minister added anxiously, warning that a conviction would not only severely tarnish our international image, but also spark a fresh wave of domestic protests. The Philippine president pressed his aching temples, realizing that the Dragon Nation was indeed serious this time. After weighing the pros and cons, he picked up the red phone on his desk and, with a tone bordering on command, declared, immediately, arrange an urgent meeting with the Dragon Nation's ambassador to the Philippines. The next day in Singapore, delegations from both the Philippines and China gathered in a heavily secured hotel conference room for a third round of closed-door negotiations. This time, the atmosphere was starkly different from the previous 2 encounters. The Filipino representatives no longer bore expressions of arrogance or defiance. Instead, their faces betrayed an unmistakable anxiety and urgency. Chapter 72. A new warship received. By the time Chun Bei learned of the negotiations' outcome, it was already afternoon. Report to the commander. The Filipino side has made a comprehensive concession during the talks and agreed to pay a ransom in exchange for the released personnel. The intelligence officer conveyed the latest news from the discussions. Huh, how delightful. Chun Bei chuckled. Had I known this would be the case, why the initial resistance? He promptly ordered them to transfer the funds. That very night, a staggering sum of 2 billion renminbi was quietly funneled through multiple intricate international financial channels into an offshore account controlled by intelligence. Simultaneously, the gold coin balance on Chun Bei's gaming interface experienced a significant transformation. With a total of 129,000 coins, an increase of 420,000 coins is indeed a source of great comfort. The wealth was extracted from the Filipinos, which brings even greater joy. Chen Bai Muzit, is it truly impossible for the military to directly recharge my account? This inquiry had been posed multiple times. Ever since discovering that the reparations from the Filipinos could be converted into game currency, Bei immediately contemplated the possibility of having the military fund his recharges. The military certainly possesses ample resources. However, the answer was a firm negative. The intelligence explained that game currency could only be obtained through in-game tasks or as rewards for completing missions. Directly requesting funds from the military for recharges would violate the game's mechanics, which do not support such actions. Report, Commander, the game mechanics do not allow for this. The intelligence reiterated with the same response. Very well, Bei replied, not overly disheartened. His gaze settled on the increasing coin total of 1,290,000. At a conversion rate of 1 coin to 100,000 RMB, this amounted to 12.9 billion, a substantial fortune indeed. With such wealth, numerous endeavors could be pursued, upgrading shipyards, modifying warships, or even preparing for future aircraft carriers. Now, everything was in place, awaiting the unlocking of Tier 2 technology. A glance at his technology points revealed 77, 100, just 23 points shy of his goal. Progress was swift, even without any active tasks. Daily sign-ins would suffice in just 23 days. Yet, he believed there was room for acceleration. Bei's fingers gently tapped the tabletop as he pondered how to expedite the accumulation of technology points. According to the game mechanics, acquiring technology points necessitated triggering tasks. To initiate tasks, one must create opportunities. The larger the undertaking, the greater the rewards in both technology points and coins. The direction was clear. Now, he needed to devise a plan. Patience was essential. Bei glanced at the time. It was already past 5 in the afternoon. He decided to have dinner, thinking it would provide the perfect opportunity to contemplate further. Stepping outside his rented room, the sunset bathed the horizon in a warm orange hue. He casually selected a small roadside eatery, ordered a few homely dishes, and settled in to savor his meal. As he dined, his thoughts began to crystallize. 2 potential avenues emerged. The first was to take decisive action against the Filipinos. There remained much to be done regarding the grounded USS Madre. The immediate objective was to cut off supplies, compelling the 9 Marine Corps personnel aboard to evacuate. Furthermore, nearby the Ren-Ai Reef lay an island known as Rock Island. This island, the second largest natural island in the Spratly Archipelago, is rich in resources and possesses a strategically vital position. Yet it has long been illegally occupied by the Filipinos. It was high time to reclaim what rightfully belonged to them. The second direction was to reciprocate in kind. For decades, American reconnaissance aircraft and warships have frequently approached our doorstep under the guise of freedom of navigation, conducting close reconnaissance, while we have remained in a state of passive defense and displacement. Now, however, the tides of offense and defense have shifted. It is time for our forces to visit Japan's Okinawa, South Korea's Osan, and even Guam's Andersen Air Force Base to explore and take in the sights. This shall be our course of action. After finishing the last bite of his meal, Bei had made his decision. Upon returning home, he would instruct his AI to devise a detailed operational plan focusing on these 2 locations. Concurrently, he would send an outline of the plan to the base, requesting them to prepare an executable report as military cooperation would be necessary for the operation. As Bei pondered these matters, his phone suddenly vibrated with a notification. Upon checking, he found it was an encrypted message from his AI. Report, Commander, you have new vessels ready for transfer. A broad smile instantly illuminated Bei's face. He felt elated. It had been over half a month since the last acquisition of 8 Type 052 destroyers, and he had not anticipated such a swift turn of fortune. Just as he finished his meal, Bei signaled the waiter to package the remaining food and quickly settled the bill. Exiting the restaurant, he nearly sprinted back to his rented accommodation. Seated before his computer, with a heart full of excitement, he launched the game. What type of warships awaited him this time? Hopefully, it would be the Type 055 destroyers. As the detailed information on the transfer interface appeared, Bei's excitement surged as he clenched his fist. Yes. Ship transfer details. Type 055 guided missile destroyer. Quantity 2 vessels, 2 Type 055 destroyers. The formidable combat capabilities of the Type 055 have already been thoroughly validated during the 810 exercises. Its prowess in anti-stealth operations and overwhelming electronic warfare superiority have proven its worthiness of the title Maritime Dominator. Now, with the addition of these 2 vessels, the strength of the Third Fleet would experience another qualitative leap. With 4 Type 055s, alongside 8 Type 052s, Bei felt confident that he could confront the 7th Fleet head-on. Notify Captain Zhou that at 8 o'clock tonight, preparations must be made at the Jiangnan shipyard in Shanghai for the reception of 2 new warships. Understood, Commander. As night descended, the Jiangnan shipyard in Shanghai remained brightly illuminated. The main access roads leading to the core dock area were secured by armed guards, enforcing the highest level of martial law. Two factory employees, having just finished their shifts, were joking and walking toward the dock area, hoping to take a shortcut home, only to be stopped by a guard. "Comrade, military restrictions are in effect ahead. Please detour." The guard's tone was serious and left no room for argument. One of the young employees, curious to inquire about the unfolding events, was abruptly pulled away by an experienced colleague. "Hey, Lowley, why are you dragging me away?" "I merely wanted to ask," he protested. "What are you asking for?" The senior worker shot him a glare, lowering his voice. "Are you out of your mind? Do you not realize that this concerns military secrets?" Some questions are best left unasked. Chapter 73. The Pentagon is furious noticing the young man's defiance. The senior whispered, "Listen, things have been quite turbulent around here lately. The security department has apprehended several spies." Drawing closer, he added mysteriously, "Do you recall that Deputy Chief Engineer Wang from the power workshop? He always appeared quite respectable." "Yes, I remember. What about him?" The young man inquired. "He's a spy. Just days ago, the national security personnel took him directly from his office. This news is spread like wildfire." "What? No way. Chief Engineer Wang is a spy." The young man's jaw nearly dropped in disbelief. "Keep your voice down," the senior cautioned. As they conversed, the two gradually moved away. In Sanya, at the command hall of the base, Zhou Jinghua was intently focused on a large screen. The display revealed real-time footage from Jiangnan shipyard, showcasing two empty colossal docks. It had begun. As the countdown concluded, the water surface in the dock violently churned. Two massive warships, clad in gray, slowly emerged as if traversing from another dimension. When both vessels completely surfaced, everyone could clearly see that they were two Type 055 destroyers. "Wonderful." Zhou Jinghua couldn't help but clench his fists, his eyes brimming with excitement. In that moment, he envisioned the rejuvenation of the nation, the rise of the people. "Does this mean one will be allocated to our Navy?" spoke a major liaison officer from the South China Sea Fleet behind him, gazing at the screen with fervent anticipation. His words echoed the sentiments of all the naval officers present. The Navy was indeed envious, yearning for what the Coast Guard possessed. At that moment, General Zhao Weidong interjected, shifting his gaze toward Zhou Jinghua, his tone suggesting a hint of negotiation. "Comrade Jinghua, do you think you could communicate with the 001? Just mention that our Navy is also eagerly hoping for a Type 055, even if we could just receive one for now." General Zhao's words reached Chen Bei, who was seated at the computer. His response was succinct. "No. The Third Fleet's capabilities were not yet formidable enough. New warships would undoubtedly be prioritized for them to concentrate their efforts on establishing an invincible aircraft carrier fleet. Any surplus vessels could be considered for support to the Navy in the future, but for now, it was not feasible." Shortly thereafter, Zhou Jinghua returned to his office. He pondered over his choice of words before reluctantly sending a message to 001, subtly conveying the request from the naval authorities. Before long, a response arrived. 001's reply was succinct. "The Navy requires warships. What concern is it of the Coast Guard?" Chuckling to himself, Zhou Jinghua nearly burst into laughter upon reading the words. How apt. The Navy is in need of vessels. Why should the Coast Guard be involved? He contemplated relaying this message verbatim to Commander Zhao. Of course, that was merely a fleeting thought. Such a blunt reply would surely provoke the naval comrades to rage. It needed to be phrased more delicately. How to articulate it? Perhaps he could say that 001 indicated the current number of new ships was limited, prioritizing the operational needs of the Third Fleet, with future considerations for supporting the Navy. Yes, that would suffice. Just as he was crafting his response, a new directive from 001 appeared on the tactical tablet. Zhou Jinhua's expression instantly turned serious. He promptly stood, tablet in hand, and hurried to find Commander Zhao Weidong. The following morning, approximately 30 kilometers off the coast of Shanghai, two imposing vessels adorned with a striking blue and white design emerged, each weighing 10,000 tons. The hull numbers were identified as Coast Guard 003 and Coast Guard 004. Not far away, on a luxurious yacht, a group of affluent young individuals engaged in sea fishing were left awestruck by the sight of the warships. Wow, look, what kind of warship is that? It's a 055, 2055S. My goodness. One quick-thinking individual whipped out their phone and began fervently filming the two enormous ships. Soon, a high-definition video was uploaded online titled, Encounter, two brand new 055 destroyers sighted in Shanghai waters. The video set the internet ablaze. In Washington, at the Pentagon, a resounding crash echoed as an expensive crystal ashtray was hurled to the ground, shattering upon impact with a luxurious carpet. General Mark Dunwoody, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, fumed with a crimson face, unleashing his fury upon the senior military officers standing before his desk. Two more 055s, he bellowed, nearly in a roar, and we learned about them from social media. The entire world of netizens knew before we did. Do you not feel ashamed? The intelligence network we invest hundreds of billions of dollars in annually has become a laughingstock. The once imposing generals and intelligence officials stood chastised, heads bowed, afraid to utter a word. One newly appointed intelligence officer opened his mouth to offer an explanation, but ultimately refrained, thinking to himself, "Sir, this is not our fault. Due to the exposure of the mole, our core intelligence network operating in the Dragon Kingdom has suffered a catastrophic blow almost overnight. Consequently, our ability to perceive the core dynamics of the Dragon Kingdom's military has plummeted to near zero. This has led to the absurd situation where we could only learn through social media that the adversary has launched 2 main warships. However, voicing such an explanation at this juncture would be akin to pouring gasoline on a fire. I don't care what methods you employ. Mark Dunwoody bellowed, pointing at them. At all costs, uncover what kind of advanced technology the Dragon Kingdom possesses. Determine the reason behind their astonishing advancements in shipbuilding technology. Meanwhile, 15 nautical miles away from Renai Reef, the sea lay tranquil, with only the gentle waves shimmering under the sunlight. A white speedboat, flying the flag of the Philippines, was racing towards Renai Reef. "Commander, a Philippine high-speed boat has been spotted southeast of Renai Reef," the intelligent reporting voice echoed within the rental house. Chun Bei had just emerged from the restroom and, upon hearing the report, hastily seated himself at the computer. On the game map, a red dot representing the Philippine speedboat was stealthily maneuvering. "Huh?" Chen Bai chuckled. "I was just pondering when the Philippine monkeys would come to deliver supplies again. And here they are today." Chapter 74. When did the soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom start fearing difficulties? Having just concluded the ransom negotiations and secured the return of our personnel, did this create a false sense of security for the Philippine side, leading them to believe that with the payment received, the dispute over Renai Reef could be considered settled and that we would no longer obstruct their supply deliveries? Indeed, Chen Bai speculation was accurate. The Philippine side was harboring such a delusion. After all, prior to the 810 exercises, while the Dragon Kingdom monitored the situation, it had never truly obstructed the supplies. The atmosphere aboard the 4401 speedboat grew increasingly tense as they approached Renai Reef. Lieutenant Manuel Santos, the captain, stared intently at the sea ahead, his dark face betraying his unease. Within the cabin, several crew members responsible for transporting supplies occasionally peeked out, gazing at the imposing military vessels in the distance, their mere presence suffocating. On the deck of the speedboat, several large barrels of fresh water, along with vacuum-sealed food and medical supplies, were covered with waterproof tarps. These were the lifelines for the 9 Marines aboard the Madeira Mountain. "Captain, do you think they will let us pass?" the second officer inquired. Lieutenant Manuel Santos remained silent, uncertain in his heart. Would the Dragon Kingdom permit passage this time? The distance continued to close in. 6 nautical miles, 5 nautical miles. At that moment, a broadcast crackled to life within the cabin. "Attention Philippines speedboat ahead. This is the Dragon Kingdom Coast Guard. You have entered our controlled waters. Please cease your vessel immediately, alter your course, and depart at once. Repeat, depart at once." The broadcast echoed like a sudden clap of thunder, causing Lieutenant Manuel's heart to lurch. "Damn it!" Manuel muttered a curse under his breath, instinctively reducing the throttle on the joystick. The speedboat came to a halt. This was troublesome. The crew aboard the vessel turned their gazes towards their commanding officer, Lieutenant Manuel. Feeling helpless, Manuel inquired about who would take charge. There was no alternative. He had no choice but to report the situation to his superiors. After a prolonged wait of 40 minutes, a response finally arrived from Manila. "Withdraw." "Oh, withdraw?" Inside the rental house, Chun Bei observed the Philippine speedboat making a U-turn, feeling somewhat surprised. He had expected the other side to at least delay or issue a few more slogans. To his astonishment, they capitulated so swiftly this time. Daily mission completed. Successfully drove away the Philippine supply ships. Reward, 1,000 gold coins. No technology points awarded. Chun Bei was not particularly surprised by this outcome. He had likely discerned the patterns of game rewards. For similar tasks, if repeated frequently without fierce confrontation, he could summarize it thus. The missions lacked technical complexity, hence there were no technology points granted. A modest reward of gold coins was already considered commendable. At that moment, the game's perspective automatically shifted to the conference room of the Sanya Coast Guard base. A group of senior generals gathered for a meeting. The main screen displayed a striking line of text: feasibility study on the Dragon Patrol Operation 20 fighter jets over Guam. Indeed, the base was deliberating a bold operational plan proposed by 001, Operation 20 to visit Guam. In the conference room, several commanders from the Air Force and Navy were examining the details of the operation. According to calculations, the Haikou Phoenix Air Force Base was approximately 3,500 kilometers away from Guam, meaning a round trip would total 7,000 kilometers. An Air Force officer spoke up, stating that the maximum range of the aircraft in a full tank state was about 3,000 kilometers, making it impossible to reach under normal circumstances. Thus, at least one aerial refueling would be necessary during the operation. At that moment, a senior major general, furrowing his brow, expressed his dissent. I personally believe that the risks associated with this operation are exceedingly high. After a pause, the major general continued. Firstly, Guam is a primary stronghold of the U.S. military in the Asia-Pacific region, and its air defense system, in terms of radar density and interception capabilities, far exceeds that of a carrier battle group, thus posing significant risks. Secondly, the entire operational range extends to 7,000 kilometers, much of which would be conducted over the vast expanse of the Western Pacific, far from our homeland, presenting unprecedented challenges to the aircraft's performance, as well as the physical and psychological endurance of the pilots. No sooner had he finished speaking than several commanders nodded in agreement. Indeed, penetrating so deeply into enemy territory over such a long distance entails substantial risks and could incite uncontrollable escalation of the situation. I also believe there is no need to take such a risk. There are always those who agree and those who refute. I do not concur. A young Air Force Major General immediately countered, stating that fear of risk will forever inhibit breakthroughs. The U.S. military can launch from Guam and parade at our doorstep. Why should our forces not visit theirs? Indeed, we too may pay a visit to Guam. The speaker was a bespectacled colonel who asserted that in military operations, there exists no such thing as a risk-free endeavor. The so-called risks are challenges we can surmount. In the conference room, contentious voices arose, with dissenting opinions mingling with those in agreement. Chun Bei listened attentively to the remarks of several opposing generals, furrowing his brow at their conservative and timid demeanor. Yet, he understood their caution. After all, the Americans have maintained global dominance for over a century, and their military strength is formidable. Although the capabilities of the 3rd Division have rapidly expanded, a significant gap remains when compared to the entirety of the U.S. Armed Forces. However, that does not imply we should shy away from challenges. Furthermore, this does not necessitate engaging in direct combat. It merely involves visiting, as the Americans have done countless times at our doorstep. What is there to fear? Had it not been for the desire to maintain the mystique of the 001 initiative, Chun Bei would have eagerly imparted a lesson to this group of cautious commanders. Just as the discord in the conference room intensified, General Zhao Weidong, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. Enough, he said, his voice not loud, yet resonant like a bell, instantly silencing all noise. Comrades, this operation indeed carries risks and difficulties. It is a formidable test. Zhao Weidong's gaze slowly swept across each general present, particularly those who had voiced dissent. However, I would like to ask everyone, when have our Dragon Nation soldiers ever feared tests? When have we ever shied away from difficulties? And when have we ever been afraid of danger? In the face of the armed-to-the-teeth United Nations forces on the Korean Peninsula, did our ancestors falter? During the development of our nuclear capabilities amidst Western technological embargoes and numerous obstacles, did we cower? No. Zhao Weidong's voice echoed in the conference room, resolute and powerful. The dissenting officers felt their faces flush with embarrassment and lowered their heads. Zhao Weidong's tone softened. In light of this, let us now proceed to vote on the Dragon Patrol operation proposed by 001. With that, Zhou Jinghua and several already supportive generals raised their hands in agreement. After a brief moment of hesitation, the opposing officers too raised their hands. The motion passed unanimously. Excellent. A smile graced Zhao Weidong's face. Does anyone have further additions to the proposal? Zhou Jinghua proposed a suggestion. To ensure absolute certainty, I recommend dispatching a Type 055 destroyer to the designated maritime area to provide aerial support and emergency assistance for Operation 20, while also serving as a forward command and support platform. Agreed, Zhao Weidong decisively affirmed. An hour later, the operation plan, codenamed Dragon Patrol, was officially finalized. Quiet, please, Zhao Weidong signaled to the attendees. Next, they moved on to the second agenda item. The large screen transitioned from the Dragon Patrol plan to a document titled Pillar. As the contents of the plan to reclaim Rock Island became clear to the attendees, the atmosphere in the conference room ignited with excitement. Senior generals became animated. Indeed, nothing lifts morale quite like confronting the enemy. There were no reservations. The operational plan swiftly passed with unanimous approval. That afternoon, the official website of the Dragon Nation's Coast Guard released a discreet announcement. Our Coast Guard's 3rd Fleet, Vessel 002, along with a comprehensive supply ship, will set sail today, traversing the Sulu Sea and the Sulawesi Sea, heading towards the relevant maritime areas of the Western Pacific to execute annual offshore training missions. This brief announcement, drowned amidst various current news events, drew little attention from the outside world. Shortly after the announcement, in the Ren AI Reef waters, Coast Guard Vessel 002, under the watchful gaze of Vessel 001, departed alongside a supply ship, gradually heading southward into the vast Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard Vessel 003 in the East China Sea received new orders to change course and race towards the Ren AI Reef waters to take over the defense duties from Vessel 002. The following day, at 5 a.m., before dawn broke, deep within the Pacific, the Coast Guard Vessel 002 arrived at the designated area, approximately 200 nautical miles from Guam. In the skies above the South China Sea, at an altitude of 10,000 meters, two fighter jets of Type 20 maintained radio silence, resembling two phantoms as they sped towards the Pacific. Long-range pilot Lin Yi received a detailed mission briefing for the Dragon Patrol operation on the onboard computer. When a mission objective involved a simulated close reconnaissance of Andersen Air Force Base near Guam, even Lin Yi, with his formidable mental fortitude, felt his heart race unexpectedly. It was indeed astonishing. This marked the first time that the Dragon Nation's fighter jets proactively approached the heart of the U.S. military presence in the Asia-Pacific region, Guam. Lin Yi took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down, suppressing his excitement, and began to meticulously read every detail of the mission. As Lin Yi diligently perused the mission briefing, hundreds of kilometers away at Phoenix Air Force Base, two Type 20 jets silently rolled onto the runway and soared into the sky. In addition to the advancing Type 055 destroyer, two Type 20 jets followed closely behind to ensure support in case of unforeseen events. After flying for about 10 minutes, an intelligent voice broke the silence in the cockpit. Caution, the refueling aircraft is 60 kilometers ahead. 1 minute later, Lin Yi could discern the imposing silhouette of the massive H-6 tanker through the clouds ahead. The two aircraft, designated as the 20, gradually decelerated, smoothly approaching the tanker. Beneath the wings of the tanker, two elongated flexible fuel hoses extended downward. The refueling probes of the two 20 aircraft precisely connected with the hoses. The entire refueling operation proceeded with remarkable ease, controlled by sophisticated automation, requiring nearly no manual intervention from the pilots. 5 minutes later, a notification appeared on the cockpit display indicating that the fuel tanks were full. The two 20 aircraft disengaged from the tanker with a steady motion, and soon after, their engines roared to life once more. The fuselage tilted slightly as they transformed into two silvery streaks, swiftly vanishing into the clouds ahead. 600 kilometers from Guam. 500 kilometers from Guam. As the intelligence system continuously reported the distance, Chun Bei, in his rented room, felt an involuntary surge of tension. At the command center of Asanya Base, on a vast electronic sand table, two blue light points representing the 20 aircraft ventured deep into the red zone, symbolizing the core interests of the U.S. military in Guam, inching closer with every moment. The atmosphere in the command hall was palpably tense. Apart from the sound of keyboards clattering, not a single word was spoken. This was an unprecedented event. The Dragon Nation's fighter jets were actively penetrating the heart of the U.S. military stronghold in the Asia-Pacific region. Would they successfully complete their mission? Uncertainty loomed in the hearts of every commander present. It must be possible. Zhou Jinghua clenched his fists tightly, his palms sweaty. The most confident among them was undoubtedly Chen Bei. His anxiety stemmed more from the palpable atmosphere surrounding him. The Tu-20 aircraft were on the brink of entering Guam's air defense identification zone. Guam, as the most critical military base for the U.S. in the Asia-Pacific, possessed an air defense system that was nothing short of formidable. It was equipped with the THAAD missile defense system, Patriot surface-to-air missiles, and stationed advanced aircraft such as the F-22 and F-35, with early warning aircraft conducting continuous patrols around the clock. We have entered the Guam Air Defense Identification Zone, the intelligence system announced. Hooray! Chen Bei suddenly pumped his fist in the air, only to quickly regain his composure. This was merely the beginning. The next few minutes would bring the most intense and exhilarating moments. Under the precise navigation of the system, the Tu-20 aircraft glided like invisible phantoms, silently traversing Guam's air defense network, passing directly over Andersen Air Force Base. They then executed a masterful tactical turn in the distant ocean, returning from another angle to once again cross over Guam skies. Throughout this process, the high-definition cameras on board the 20 captured clear images of the two bombers parked on the runway of Andersen Air Force Base and the nuclear submarines docked at the naval base. Chapter 76. Into the Abyss of Uninhabited Territory mission accomplished. Successfully infiltrated the airspace of Guam with 20. Rewards. 5 technology points, 10,000 gold coins. Hooray! Hooray! Within the confines of his rented dwelling, Chun Bei was jubilantly dancing with excitement. Command Hall of the Asanya Base. Upon confirming that the two aircraft had successfully exited the Guam airspace and commenced their return, a brief silence was followed by an eruption of fervent cheers. We did it. We succeeded. Well done. Indeed, it was an impressive feat. The operation unfolded as though entering a realm devoid of opposition. The formidable air defense system, meticulously constructed by the U.S. military in Guam, exhibited no response whatsoever. The so-called impregnable fortress, in the face of absolute technological disparity, resembled nothing more than a mere veil of thin paper. Proceed, let us do it once more, Chun Bei commanded, as the two aircraft, originally stationed in the South China Sea for support, immediately took over the mission. After refueling in midair, they soared towards Guam once again. Mission accomplished. Successfully infiltrated the Guam airspace for the second time with 20 rewards. 1 technology point, 3,000 gold coins. Ha! Chun Bei beamed with delight. Once more. Mission accomplished. Successfully infiltrated the Guam airspace for the third time with 20 rewards. 1,000 gold coins. For the third attempt, there were no